Chapter 20. The whole world is shocked, and there is an affair in the secret room. On this day, news of the bloody battle between the 9 great immortal sects and the demonic sect spread throughout the lower realm. The immortal Tao allied forces suffered hundreds of thousands of casualties, and the 9 great sects lost most of their elites. The yin-yang sacred sect also suffered heavy losses, with only 60% of its disciples remaining. However, the sect master of the demonic sect, Lin Yun, fought alone against the 9 leaders of the immortal sects. He killed 3, captured 1, and forced 5 righteous path leaders to flee in disarray. He pursued the 9 great immortal sects for 100,000 li. The path was stained with blood, and corpses lay strewn everywhere. This battle record, like a clap of thunder, shocked the entire Tianyuan cultivation world into silence. Righteous path cultivators gritted their teeth and cursed him as a great devil head. Demonic path loose cultivators, however, spread tales of his divine prowess, and the name of the yin-yang sacred sect resounded throughout the world overnight. All cultivation, noble families/clan, and sects in the world were shaken. The 9 great immortal sects, joining forces to encircle and suppress the yin-yang sacred sect, actually lost 3 sect master supremes. Ling Outyan of Lingxiao sect, Yu Chongfeng of Yuhua Gate, and Ru Song of Howren Academy, their blood-stained black demon peak, and their bones were utterly destroyed. Not even their divine souls escaped. They were directly soul flying away and spirit scattering, cultivating for tens of thousands of years, only to die and have their Tao dissipate in one morning. Originally, the entire cultivation world did not favor the yin-yang sacred sect, this demonic sect. They believed that with the 9 great immortal sects launching an encirclement and suppression, victory was already assured. But they never expected such a result. Who knows how many prodigy disciples were buried in foreign lands because of this? The losses were so heavy as to be unbelievable. The 9 great immortal sects would likely find it difficult to recover their origin chi for 1,000 years. What was even more astounding was that the Phoenix Maiden of the Divine Phoenix Imperial Dynasty, Huang Shir, was once again captured alive by Lin Yin. This news exploded like thunder, causing an uproar in the cultivation world. Why say again? Naturally, there's a story behind it. People couldn't help but recall many years ago, Huang Shir's mother, the current Empress Huang Lianyu. She was also abducted by Lin Yun for a period of time. That also caused a huge commotion. What would happen when a delicate immortal Tao Empress fell into the hands of that great devil king? It made countless people's imaginations run wild. Ultimately, the old imperial master of the Ascension realm emerged from seclusion and personally went to the demonic sect to demand her return, which finally forced that old devil Lin to hand her over. And now, 2 Phoenix Maidens have successively fallen into the hands of this devil head, and the face of the righteous path has been utterly trampled. Although the legacy of the Divine Phoenix Imperial Dynasty is special, the contemporary Phoenix Maiden is not the Empress's true bloodline descendant. Nevertheless, the fall of 2 imperial daughters still made many immortal Tao cultivators envious, jealous, and hateful. They were rare divine Phoenix bodies. Moreover, they possessed unparalleled beauty and grace. All of them outshone the crowd. That old devil Lin truly had good luck and such great divine might. Aside from envy, everyone was already unable to utter words of condemnation against the demonic sect. This time, the immortal Tao sects suffered a severe blow, with hundreds of thousands of cultivators losing their lives. The geniuses of the younger generation died in scattered numbers. Behind them were countless cultivation families, and even the nobles of various ancient imperial dynasties. The impact caused was naturally far more than this, and it would likely take decades or even a century to digest. As the news spread rapidly, even a mundane world was stirred. In a tavern, a white-bearded old man put down his wine bowl and drunkenly muttered, "That old devil Lin of the demonic sect, he alone defeated the 9 great immortal sects, an Ascension realm expert. Void-breaking realm old ancestors and supremes were directly blown apart like watermelons. It's truly terrifying." The scholars in the tea house forgot to turn their pages. The sky of their Confucian school had fallen. The dean of Howren Academy, Ru Song, had passed away. Countless literati and scholars wept in mourning. Even the children on the street were running and shouting, "The devil head is invincible. The devil head stole the princess to be his wife." The emperors of the mundane dynasties were also anxiously summoning their strategists and contacting the immortal sects behind them. They feared that this god of slaughter might one day kill his way to the palace gates, not to mention. They also needed to assess the impact of this battle on the subsequent situation. And for some of their imperial dynasties, the sects behind them were precisely the 9 great immortal sects, so they were naturally scared out of their wits. They feared being purged by the demonic sect. The cultivation world, moreover, was utterly silent. Countless sects and noble family/clans were as quiet as cicadas in winter. After Xian Tiangang returned, the Heavenly Profound sect directly closed its mountain gate. The Zixiao Divine Lightning, which had surged for 10,000 years before the Zixiao sect's mountain gate, directly extinguished, and they behaved with extreme caution. The Taiching Sword Gate locked its swords, and the Longevity Daoist Temple stopped its alchemy furnaces. Howran Academy, Lingxiao Sect, and Yuhua Gate, having lost their leaders, urgently contracted their forces and recalled their disciples from outside. Then they frantically burned incense to consult the old ancestors who had been in seclusion for thousands of years, whose fates were unknown. All the great holy lands and hidden families were completely shaken. A newly advanced Ascension realm mighty figure, full of vigor and with a long lifespan, had suddenly emerged. This world was about to fall into chaos. In the history of the immortal Tao, whenever such a phenomenon appeared, it was either a golden age with countless prodigies emerging, or it was an era directly suppressed by one individual. Someone whispered, "Aren't those old monsters coming out yet?" No matter how arrogant this devil head is, can he withstand the foundations of a holy land? The entire world was in a state of panic, and some also anticipated the stories that would unfold next. But at this moment, Lin Yun had no mind to concern himself with the turmoil outside. It was roughly as he had expected. He pursued them for 100,000 li, killing countless enemies. But those few who were determined to act like cowards, he had no way to deal with them. Nevertheless, in this battle, he ultimately won. At this moment, he sat inside one of the great halls of the Yin-Yang sacred sect. Cold wind seeped through the damaged hall walls, rubble piled in the corners, and the scent of blood still lingered in the air. There was no time to repair it yet. Everyone was exhausted. Across from him sat Empress Ancestor Ji Xiao, dressed in a gauze skirt, her face as cold as ice. Her phoenix eyes stared at Lin Yun, filled with intense rage. She was barely holding back from pouncing on him and tearing him apart, only because of what Lin Yun had just said. "Xiao, thanks to you this time, I was able to break through to the Ascension realm and defeat the enemy forces in one fell swoop. I will remember this favor. You are indeed the strongest ancestral master of our sacred sect." Upon hearing this, Ji Xiao's chest tightened, and then she sneered. Originally, seeing him display great divine might in battle against the multitude of enemies, she had developed a slight sense of neutrality towards him. Ji Xiao's voice was as low as if it came from the 9 netherworlds. "Favor? You ruined my purity, stole my cultivation, and still dare to say you remember my favor." The corners of her eyes were slightly red, as if she was suppressing tears, but the humiliation and anger could not be hidden. "You shameless wretch, if I catch you in the immortal realm, the first thing I'll do is kill you, make your soul flying away and spirit scattering, and prevent you from even entering reincarnation. Remember my words, I will never change my intent to kill you." With each word she spoke, her hatred deepened, recalling the humiliation of being tormented by him these past days. Her throat felt as if a stone was lodged in it, making it hard to breathe. Although he had successfully preserved her father's legacy, his insult to her was a genuine hatred. This was an irreconcilable blood feud. Ji Xiao would not let this beast off so easily. Lin Yun looked at her, a flicker of complexity in his eyes. There was a bit of guilt and a bit of reluctance, but he quickly suppressed it. This Empress Ancestor had now become his biggest trouble. But fortunately, there was still room for maneuver. Moreover, perhaps he could have a few more times later. Women, after all, might develop feelings over time. He lowered his head and rubbed his temples, not responding, but simply stood up, dusted off his clothes, and turned to leave. This woman hated him to the bone, but he also knew that without cultivation, she could only be strong with her words. There was still more than 20 days left, enough time for him to slowly figure something out. Besides, he still had a lot of things to deal with next. He had to get revenge, didn't he? Some past regrets and grudges also needed to be addressed. Otherwise, who knows, one day he might be cursed and killed by Empress Ancestor in the immortal realm using some mysterious method. And he also needed to start preparing for ascension. The moment the hall door closed, Ji Xiao lowered her head and clutched her gauze skirt. Her fingertips trembled slightly, enraged by this shameless wretch. Thinking that she still had to endure another 23 days like this, Ji Xiao closed her eyes in pain. Without magic power, she could do nothing. Meanwhile, Lin Yun went directly to a secret chamber exclusively for him in the depths of the sect. As a restriction formation operated, the heavy stone door slowly pushed open, revealing Huang Shi thrown in the corner. The ropes seemed to have just been untied, and her red gold battle armor was torn in several places, revealing her fair arms and shoulders. Huang Shier's long hair was disheveled, her beautiful face pale but breathtakingly stunning. As soon as she saw Lin Yun enter, she immediately raised her head, her eyes burning with fury. "Old devil Lin, let me go. Otherwise, my mother will not spare you." Huang Shier's voice was somewhat hoarse, filled with unwillingness and stubbornness. But deep in her eyes was a hint of fear. She actually knew she couldn't escape. She dared not imagine what might happen next. Seeing the stone door close, Huang Shier's heart trembled. Lin Yun slowly walked over, squatted in front of her, and scrutinized her with burning eyes. "Bringing people to kill me, was it fun? Actually, you succeeded before." Lin Yun said words that made Huang Shier feel inexplicable. Her face resembled Huang Lianyu's when she was young, especially the stubbornness in her brows and eyes, which made his heart itch even more. He let out a low chuckle, his finger lifting a strand of her hair, his voice deep and slightly teasing. "Little niece, don't be so quick to curse. Our fate is destined by heaven." His hand slid down her chin, gently pinching it. The soft touch made his Adam's apple bob. Huang Shier suddenly shook her head, gritting her teeth and cursing. "Shameless! If you dare touch me, I won't let you off even as a ghost." Her voice trembled, and tears welled up in her eyes, but she stubbornly held them back. Lin Yun's eyes grew hotter. He stood up and untied the remaining ropes on her body. But the next moment, he directly pressed her against the wall. The secret chamber was so quiet that only their heavy breathing could be heard. Huang Shier struggled a few times, her fists pounding against his chest. But she was already sealed. How could she resist the strength of an Ascension Realm expert? Then her voice gradually weakened. Huang Shier curled up in the corner. She lowered her head, her long hair covering her face, her shoulders trembling slightly, as if suppressing sobs. But the humiliation and anger emanated from her tightly clenched fists, her nails digging into her palms, drawing blood. Her chest heaved, and tears finally couldn't be held back, but she fiercely wiped them away. Huang Shier whispered, "Old devil Lin, I want you to die." The sound was so faint it was almost inaudible, but it carried boundless hatred. Lin Yun leaned against the wall, breathing heavily and tidying his robes, a satisfied smile still on his face, but a flicker of complexity in his eyes. There was naturally a reason for bullying this little phoenix maiden. Besides revenge, there was also excitement. He glanced at Huang Shier, and seeing her appearance, he felt a surge of pleasure in his heart. What their imperial dynasty had done to him was not at all kind. Lin Yun rubbed his waist. He had been too excited just now. He whispered, "Do you hate me?" "That's right. The matter between me and your divine phoenix imperial dynasty isn't over yet." His words were light, making Huang Shier's hatred even more intense. After speaking, he pushed the door open and left, his back pausing for a moment before he completely disappeared outside the door. He still had to go comfort his junior sister, senior sister, and master. He also needed to check the sex battle damage. In the secret chamber, Huang Shier bit her lip, tears blurring her vision. Her hands, clutching her black robe, trembled violently. She remembered her mother's teachings, the glory of the divine phoenix imperial dynasty. But now it was all trampled underfoot by this devil head. However, what she didn't know was that this was just the beginning. Lin Yun was already pondering how to get back at Huang Lianyu. For the woman who betrayed him, he would not be soft-hearted. Chapter 21 Empress of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty, Huang Lianyue. A world-shaking war. The Yin-Yang sacred sect's losses were mainly due to the numerous disciples who died or were injured, adding to that the consumption of magic treasures and resources. Although they won, it was primarily because Lin Yun overpowered everyone. He suppressed all high-end combat power by himself, which led to a one-sided slaughter. However, battles always involve casualties, especially since their numbers were less than half of the 9 great immortal sects. Fortunately, the main scope of the battle took place outside the sect's gate. Except for the outer ring of palaces, the core buildings inside remained intact. Otherwise, repairs would have been a troublesome matter. At the highest point of the sect master's main hall, Lin Yun stood atop a tall tower. The entire sect's scenery came into view. Above the sky, countless figures flew back and forth, various escape light, and immortal beasts. Everyone was frantically flying around. Now, although the entire sacred sect wasn't quite at the stage of all industries waiting to be revived, it would still be in disarray for several days. First, they had to collect the bodies and belongings of the fallen senior brothers. Then, inventory the losses, and re-establish the sect's order. All of this required immense manpower, material resources, and time. As the sect master supreme, Lin Yun knew better than to add to the chaos. He had his own matters to attend to. Appearing in front of people would only hinder efficiency. As a leader, his greatest roles were as a spiritual pillar and to oversee the overall situation. Specific tasks would naturally be handled by specific people. However, his appearance still invigorated all the disciples who saw him. But no one came forward to disturb him. Everyone was busy with their own tasks in an orderly manner. Lin Yun sat down cross-legged. A surge of fervent magical power was stirring within him. The Divine Phoenix dynasty had an ancient origin, rumored to be founded by the bloodline descendants of an immortal phoenix. Each generation would produce a divine maiden or divine son. However, the last two generations were both phoenix maidens. The previous generation's Huang Lian Yu was unparalleled in beauty and a captivating enchantress. She was also the current empress. Huang Shi'er, the current divine maiden, eldest princess, phoenix maiden, and next empress. She held many noble titles. Within them flowed the power of the immortal phoenix, which was supremely firm and intensely young. For Lin Yun, this naturally had some use. Lin Yun felt the immense power of the immortal phoenix within him. It was like a celestial fire, capable of incinerating everything. But under the suppression of his vast magical power, it could only be obediently refined. His foundation, which had been somewhat unstable after his recent breakthrough into the Ascension realm, became increasingly solid. However, something puzzled Lin Yun. In his estimation, he should have needed at least 3 days and 3 nights to completely refine this divine power. Yet, it was refined in just the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. It was only then that Lin Yun remembered the meaning of the 1,000-fold cultivation talent the system had previously bestowed upon him. This meant that he was now the most prodigious person in this world, wasn't he? He could learn anything instantly and master it just as quickly. Now that he had safely survived the great tribulation of life and death, it was indeed time to consider his future development. In the future, he could also learn things like formation and alchemy. After all, he might have to go into the wilderness for survival. Lin Yun rested his chin on his hand, watching the dense crowd of sect disciples in the distance, bustling back and forth like diligent worker bees. Once all grievances were settled and his entanglement with Huang Lian Yu was resolved, he should be able to travel to the other 3,000 lower realms. Ascension in this world, though most convenient, was absolutely out of the question. He would be immediately caught by the Empress Ancestral Master. Legend has it that the immortal realm has many ascension platforms. Different worlds might be guided to different ascension platforms. As someone who ascended from this world, the Empress Ancestral Master was naturally intimately familiar with the location of this world ascension platform. Therefore, this was a dead end. Lin Yun's current strategy was to hide for as long as possible. Perhaps he would be lucky enough to keep hiding. Or perhaps he would encounter a great opportunity and find refuge with an invincible immortal sect old ancestor. Then the Empress Ancestral Master would not dare to openly deal with him. In short, he could only lie low. Once they met, he would be doomed. Lin Yun knew this clearly. Even if he could delay for a while, he would only become a prisoner. Although he still had many schemes, he always had to prepare for the worst. This was also why he had never capsized in a ditch over the years. Caution and prudence were never a bad thing. In the distance, the sky was still filled with a bloody chi and endless resentment and evil chi intertwined. Some kind of demonic entity was brewing. The earth was cracked and mountains and rivers were shattered. Restoring them would be a significant undertaking. Lin Yun looked at the horizon. The Divine Phoenix dynasty must already be planning a counterattack. He wondered how Huang Lian Yu would retaliate this time. Last time, he had painstakingly tricked her out, but before he could lay hands on her, she threatened to self-detonate the immortal phoenix divine power within her. That's why the two were in a stalemate for so long. It was frustrating. Old Devil Lin did not succeed as rumored by the outside world in obtaining the Empress's red pill. Although he did take advantage of her in many ways with his hands, these small actions had already occurred when they were lovers. So, it naturally wasn't considered a breakthrough. And that incident was actually the fuse for the 9 great immortal sects' current encirclement and suppression. The old imperial master of the Divine Phoenix dynasty, who was once invincible under heaven, personally came to retrieve the Empress. Of course, the process wasn't so pleasant. Although Lin Yun wasn't directly punished, he suffered considerable humiliation, being publicly reprimanded and losing face. If the other party hadn't been afraid of overusing his magical power and inviting the heavenly tribulation, he probably would have been finished that time. That old imperial master, it was rumored, had already reached the peak of the Ascension realm. However, due to certain reasons, his Tao was incomplete and he was entangled with endless karmic obstruction. He dared not undergo the great Ascension tribulation, or he would be struck down and killed. But Lin Yun knew the secret. It was actually a problem with the old thing's immortal phoenix physique. The immortal phoenix power within him was not pure enough. He had killed a phoenix maiden back then and absorbed all of her bloodline power. That's how he became the imperial master. The reason he cared so much about Huang Lianyu was actually that he wanted to use her as a cauldron. But he had not achieved his wish for so many years. He probably faced similar problems to Lin Yun, and Lin Yun's decisive action in taking Huang Shi'er was also partly for this reason. Why not do something that harms others to benefit oneself? He once viewed himself as a junior ant. Now he had ruined his ascension plan. Presumably, he never expected this encirclement of the demonic sect to fail, which is why he confidently allowed Huang Shi'er to undergo a trial. The faster she cultivated, the shorter his waiting time for the harvest. According to the previous trajectory, it was indeed foolproof. However, Lin Yun had rebirth and shamelessly forced the Empress Ancestral Master into dual cultivation, seizing half of her cultivation after her descent to the lower realm. Only then did he achieve a breakthrough in one fell swoop, accomplishing a heaven-defying change of fate. But how much of a chance did he truly have now? Lin Yun was also a bit unsure. However, that old thing's blood chi was depleted, and he was timid, so he should be in an invincible position. If all else failed, he still had a trump card. His breakthrough to the Ascension realm was equivalent to smuggling. He hadn't undergone tribulation yet. At that time, he would directly trigger the Great Tribulation and envelop that old thing in it. The Heavenly Tao would definitely target that old thing. Although his own heavenly tribulation would also be affected and its intensity would increase significantly, this was his ultimate trump card. And at this moment, within the distant Divine Phoenix dynasty, Huang Lianyu, the current empress of the Divine Phoenix dynasty, stood on the highest Phoenix Cry platform of the imperial city. She gazed down upon the vast landscape. She wore a crimson gold phoenix robe, its hem embroidered with a fiery phoenix poised for flight, accentuating her tall and majestic figure. Her long hair was as black as ink, gently swaying in the wind, adorned with a phoenix gold hairpin. Delicate tassels dangled from the hairpin's tail, shimmering with golden light as they swayed. Her face was breathtakingly beautiful, with eyebrows like distant mountains and eyes like stars, her lips slightly pursed, carrying a hint of coldness. Her skin was as white as the finest mutton-fat jade, exuding an untouchable nobility. This was once the most beautiful woman in the cultivation world, old Devil Lin's first love, the woman who betrayed him, Huang Lianyu. She stood there, and as the wind blew, her phoenix robe clung to her slender waist and long legs. Her long skirt gently swayed, outlining her graceful curves, her fair, jade-like legs long and perfect, dazzlingly beautiful. But her beauty was not of the delicate kind. It carried an awe-inspiring majesty that transcended all things, her gaze capable of freezing one's soul. She raised a hand to gently caress her hairpin, her fingertips delicate and slender, her nails painted a faint vermilion. Every gesture exuded the domineering of an empress and the alluring charm of a woman. Yun, you truly haven't disappointed me. I never expected you to break through. You are indeed the most prodigious person of our generation. I did not misjudge you. I just hope you can withstand his wrath next. If not, then so be it if you die. No one can stop my immortal ascension endeavor. Sheer, don't blame me. I don't want to be a puppet forever. I want to achieve immortal ascension. I want to go to the immortal Phoenix ruins to receive the legacy, and let the immortal Phoenix once again descend upon the world. Huang Lianyu murmured to herself. A hint of guilt flashed in her eyes, then was replaced by determination. Suddenly, her gaze seemed to struggle, her beautiful face contorting slightly. No, Xiao Yin cannot be harmed. I beg you. Her soul erupted with a roar, her delicate body trembling, as if resisting something. Immediately after, the immortal phoenix mark on her forehead flickered slightly. A great will seemed to awaken, instantly suppressing Huang Lianyu's last shred of humanity. Huang Lianyu's expression returned to calm, once again becoming the cold-blooded empress who would stop at nothing for immortal ascension. She was no longer the girl Lin Yun once loved. The rebirth of the phoenix blood had silently altered her true spirit. Fate never made sense. Love and hate arose from the sea of suffering. In this world, who could resist fate? Some people were destined for their ultimate end from birth, and some were destined to be the protagonists of this world. Chapter 22. Brother, you finally came to see me. Lin Yun never would have thought that all of this was actually a scheme by that woman, Huang Lianyu. However, she was no longer her true self. Under the influence of certain will, her desire for immortal ascension had deeply penetrated her soul, turning her into a chess piece. Stemming from the starting point of immortal ascension, she had to break free from old ancestor Ling Tian's control. She didn't want to become a puppet. She seemed to have an instinctive aversion to puppets, unaware that she already was one. Huang Lianyu absolutely did not want to become that old monster's cauldron. She had been struggling for many years. Unconsciously, her heart had long since become twisted. Even Huang Shi'er, who had always regarded her as her mother, was used as a tool and bait. Simply because old Imperial Master was too powerful. If things continued like this, she would sooner or later be completely devoured by him. He probably wouldn't wait for Sheer to grow up. He would make a move on her. And in this world, he had almost no opponents. Even those old monsters wouldn't kill each other without reason. These old, undying beings cherished their lives greatly. So she thought long and hard. It was still old Devil Lin, the biggest rebel in this world, who was easier to exploit. Plus, he had once made a move against her, and he had offended the entire Tao of immortals. Even more commendable was his own powerful strength. What if he succeeded? Huang Lian wanted to take a gamble, and the stakes were Lin Yun's life, the Yin Yang sacred sect, and the lives of countless Tao of immortals' disciples. Everyone became her chess pieces. If it succeeded, it would only be at the cost of Huang Shier's innocence. She dared to swear to the heavens that as long as Lin Yun survived this calamity, he would definitely capture Huang Shier alive, and then take away the most important things for Huang Shier and ancestor Ling Tian. All of this was, of course, because she had once inadvertently revealed the secret of the old Imperial Master Huang Ling Tian, based on her understanding of her former young lover. The other party was decisive in killing and ruthless. He would certainly not miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, directly cutting off Huang Lingtian's retreat. Perhaps in his eyes, this was also his revenge against her. A faint smile played on Huang Lianyu's lips. What she wanted was very simple. She just wanted to cultivate and achieve immortal ascension. The Empress ancestor of the former Yin Yang sacred sect. She was her idol. She also wanted to become a figure like that Empress ancestor. What was the use of having immense power in the lower realm? However, Huang Lianyu did not know. The Empress ancestor Ji Xiao, whom she most admired in her heart, had also become Lin Yun's captive. Now she couldn't even walk freely or leave. She was monitored at all times. At this moment, the Empress ancestor was bored, playing the role of a consort in the cold palace in the back garden. Lin Yun meditated for a while longer, replenishing some of his expended qi. Only then did he get up, preparing to visit his junior sister and the others. In this battle, they all seemed to have been injured. Let's go see junior sister first. Her realm was the lowest, and she hadn't really suffered much. She might be crying right now. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Lin Yun's lips. His junior sister was actually picked up by him during his travels outside. But at that time, she was almost frozen to death. This situation was actually very common. Female infants were very discriminated against in this world. If they couldn't work, they had no productivity, and thus no value. The family also had an extra mouth to feed, so there would be many abandoned infants. But since Lin Yun encountered her, that was a destined fate. So he picked her up. Because she was found under a willow tree, she was given the surname Lu. And it was a snowy day, so she was named Sweki. Surprisingly, this female infant actually had a spiritual root and cultivation talent. Then Lin Yun directly asked his master Yun Xueji to take her as a disciple. In a blink of an eye, so many years had passed. The little female infant who was once almost frozen to death by the roadside had also grown up, under the accumulation of countless resources and the care and love of her senior brother. She also became the saintess of the demonic sect, attracting much attention. Although her realm was only the divine ability realm, she was still considered a supreme immortal in the eyes of mortals. Living for thousands or tens of thousands of years was not a problem. She was just a bit clingy to him, her senior brother, and usually quite sticky. Lin Yun naturally wouldn't reject this. His junior sister was already like a child bride. To let her marry someone else was absolutely impossible. Anyone who had such an idea would have already reincarnated. Once, a saint, who was the Grand Elder's grandson, had ideas about the saintess Lu Sweki. He dared to pursue her. Then one day, he mysteriously disappeared without a trace. His life tablet shattered directly. But strangely, it was as if this incident had never happened. The entire Elder Council made no movement whatsoever. This eerie atmosphere also seemed to make everyone understand something. That innocent and charming young girl was the Sect Master Supreme's cherished junior sister, his inverse scale. Whoever dared to have ideas about her would die. Lin Yun arrived at Snow Maiden Peak, where his junior sister resided. This immortal cave was her exclusive territory. It was precisely located at a major node of an immortal vein. The spiritual qi was incredibly dense. Cultivating here yielded twice the results with half the effort. Sect Master Supreme. All the disciples and attendants immediately bowed and knelt when they saw Lin Yun. Lin Yun ignored the servants and disciples. He went straight to his junior sister's bedchamber, where a faint medicinal fragrance wafted through the room. His junior sister, Lu Sweki, was half reclining on a soft couch, wearing a thin white gauze dress, its hem fanned out, revealing two fair and slender calves. She had been struck by the divine Phoenix dynasty's Phoenix divine ability in the Great Battle. Her delicate body was scalded. Although she had mostly recovered by now, her skin was still pink. Like a ripe peach, it looked somewhat alluring. She frowned, a little troubled, her delicate face slightly pale. But her eyes were as soft as water. Especially when she saw Lin Yun enter. They immediately lit up. Secmaster Senior Brother, you're finally here. Lu Sueki's voice was soft and delicate, carrying a hint of grievance, like a wounded kitten. She shifted her body, wanting to sit up, but a sharp pain made her hiss, and her brows furrowed tighter. Lin Yun walked over and squatted beside her, his gaze sweeping over her body. There were still some tiny scald marks on the pink new skin. The faint curves beneath the gauze made his Adam's apple bob uncontrollably. He whispered, "Don't move, let Senior Brother take a look." He reached out and took her arm, and with a light touch of his fingers, she trembled. Lu Sueki mumbled softly, "It hurts." Her voice was so soft it could melt a person's heart. Lin Yun chuckled softly, then pulled out a bottle of emerald green ointment from his embrace, opening the lid to release an even stronger medicinal fragrance. This was the precious white jade bone-mending ointment, a 9th grade item. Anything higher would be an immortal pill or miracle medicine. It was generally not seen in the lower realm. Lin Yun scooped out a bit and applied it to her arm, shoulder, collarbone, and chest. His fingertips were cool, and with a gentle force, he massaged it in circles over her scalded areas. Lu Sueki bit her lip, initially flinching from the pain, but as the ointment seeped in, the stinging pain of the scald gradually subsided. It was replaced by a cool sensation, and she comfortably narrowed her eyes. She couldn't help but let out a soft moan. "Senior Brother, your technique is really good." Lin Yun's lips curled slightly. Looking at his junior sister's faintly visible delicate body, his heart also stirred a little. However, fortunately, he had already vented his desires on Huang Shi'er before coming, so he wouldn't go wild, although his junior sister had always longed to cultivate with him. Ahem, Senior Brother is a pill cultivator and alchemist, you know. Lin Yun joked. His hands didn't stop, moving up her arm, sliding to her shoulder, and then applying more ointment near her collarbone. That patch of pink skin, pressed by his fingers, was as soft as cotton. Lin Yun's eyes grew a little warmer, and his movements slowed, as if deliberately lingering for a moment longer. Lu Sueki's face flushed even deeper, her chest beneath the gauze dress rising and falling slightly, her breathing a little ragged. She stole a glance at a certain part of her sect master Senior Brother, and her heart stirred. Last time, things almost turned out well, but her senior sister interrupted. Now seemed to be an opportunity as well. Lu Sueki whispered, "Sect Master Senior Brother, don't just focus on healing. Help me with my skincare too. I've been in pain and haven't slept well, so my skin feels rough. Touch it and see, isn't it?" His junior sister, with a shy expression, grabbed Lin Yun's hand and pressed it to her chest. Lin Yun raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips, and picked up a bottle of specially prepared jade dew cream from her table. "Who told you to fight so desperately? I told you to just watch from the back." Saying this, Lin Yun squeezed some jade dew into his palm, leaned closer to her, and whispered, "Don't move around. Senior Brother will pamper you." He placed his hands on her shoulders, then gently massaged downwards. The cream melted on her pink skin, and the slippery sensation made his fingertips tremble. Lu Sueki closed her eyes, comfortable like a little kitten. Her eyes were like autumn waters, and her pretty face was flushed peach pink. She hummed and mumbled, "Senior Brother, your hands are so warm." A little lower. His hand moved lower, brushing against her back, the thin gauze crinkling, revealing a small patch of fair skin on her waist. Her slender waist seemed as if it could be grasped in one hand. The room became quiet, with only their 2 breaths audible. Lin Yun lowered his head and blew a breath into her ear. Smiling a little mischievously, "Junior sister, are you trying to tempt Senior Brother again?" Lu Sueki's face instantly turned crimson, and she opened her eyes to glare at him, but her eyes were watery, without any deterrence. She pouted and whined, "Senior Brother, I've been hurting for so long, and you didn't even come to see me. Now you won't even let me act spoiled. Just hug me." Lin Yun was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter and simply sat on the soft couch, pulling her into his embrace. Her small body softly pressed against him, her head buried in his chest, and her gauze dress slipped down a bit, revealing her pink shoulders where the scalded areas gleamed under the nourishment of the ointment. He lowered his head and rubbed her hair, which smelled fragrant, making him take several deep breaths. He patted her back, whispering, "All right, Senior Brother is hugging you. Does it still hurt?" Lu Sueki squirmed in his arms, softly whimpering, "It doesn't hurt anymore. I just want Senior Brother to hug me a little longer." The room fell silent, The medicinal fragrance mixed with her faint body scent, making his heart race. Lin Yun held her, a trace of tenderness flashing in his eyes. But a mischievous smile still hung on his lips. His large hand squeezed her waist, making her let out a soft gasp. She looked up and glared at him, her appearance even more alluring. Lin Yun laughed heartily, no longer hesitating. He lowered his head. Chapter 23 Senior Sister, I'll help you heal. Inside the room, there was only a rustling sound. Occasionally, a soft whimper, as if unable to breathe. Who knows how long passed? Lin Yun raised his head, looking at the infinitely gentle and shy junior sister in his arms. Senior brother, I want more. Lu Sweki was persistent, rubbing her small head against his chest again. Let's cultivate, okay? Her eyes were watery, filled with a hazy allure. Her skin was a tempting shade of pink. Lin Yun licked the corner of his mouth, gently caressed little Sweki's small head. Good girl, be obedient. We'll talk about it once your injuries have fully recovered. She was already his destined woman. There was no question of whether to take her or not. Lin Yun was not in a hurry. Instead, he quite enjoyed the process. That's why he had dragged it out for so long without consummating their relationship. On another note, he also had some reservations. Because of his senior sister and master. So Lin Yun had always maintained this delicate balance. But after this great tribulation, he had come to terms with many things. We cultivators fight against heaven, earth, and man. It is always possible to die and have our Tao extinguished at any moment. Since that's the case, why not face his true feelings? To hell with all the formalities. Besides, it wasn't some heaven-defying act against human ethics. Although Lu Sweki was somewhat reluctant, she also knew that a decision made by her senior brother would not be easily changed. She just couldn't help but rub against him again. Only then did she let go. Lin Yun also breathed a sigh of relief. I'm going to check on your senior sister and master. You be a good girl during this time. Don't wander around. The turmoil might flare up again. Lin Yun cautioned. The 9 great immortal sects might not let it go just like that. They might take advantage of the situation. Moreover, that old thing Huang Lingtian might appear at any time. If he were to take hostages then, his junior sister and the others would naturally be the first choice. That shameless old thing might actually do something like that. But he probably wouldn't have expected that he had already eagerly devoured his prey. He might go mad then. An inevitable great battle would ensue. After withdrawing his hand from her robes, Lin Yun left the saintess's bedchamber without lingering. At the peak of the immortal peak, Lin Yun's figure slowly disappeared. In an instant, he had shifted to another mountain peak. Soul Peak. This was the fiefdom of the sect's law enforcement grand elder, senior sister Ling Shuangxue. It was even more majestic and magnificent than the saintess's immortal mountain. At this moment, she was probably very busy, so Lin Yun did not go looking for her, but went directly to the inner hall. The arrival of the sect master supreme was quickly reported to Ling Shuangxue by a disciple. Among the spiritual plants in the inner hall's garden, Lin Yun leisurely sat in a pavilion. Ling Shuangxue was still in a white dress, somewhat cold and elegant, but beautiful as a heavenly immortal. As expected, her aura was a bit weak. Clearly, she was also quite injured, but she was still as proud as ever, like a winter plum blossom. Although he doted on Lin Yun immensely in his heart. What are you doing here? The sect has a lot of things to deal with right now, and I'm busy. Master's injuries are quite severe. You should go visit her first. Ling Shuangxue said somewhat crossly. Her voice, however, was not as cold. Lin Yun raised an eyebrow. He wasn't displeased at all. She was always like this. For so many years, she had always liked to worry unnecessarily, wanted to manage everything. Sometimes she would even treat him, the sect master supreme, like a child. However, Lin Yun not only had no aversion to this, but rather, he found some enjoyment in it. After all, there weren't many people left who could treat him with the same sincerity as before. Give me your hand. Lin Yun did not respond to her inquiry, but instead said somewhat domineeringly, allowing no refusal. He directly grasped Ling Shuangxue's jade hand. Then, threads of magical power infused into it, beginning to probe the injuries within her body. Ling Shuangxue was caught off guard and had no time to react. She was held by the warm, large hand of her junior brother, the sect master. Her ears turned red, but she bit her lip and said nothing. Her bright, beautiful eyes just stared blankly at her junior brother, the sect master. Lin Yun frowned slightly. Senior sister didn't have any serious injuries, just a depletion of her origin. So she was somewhat weak now. Under normal circumstances, this situation would be difficult to recover from quickly. It would require time. But with him present, it was naturally different. With his profound cultivation in the Ascension realm, he could directly replenish her. Come closer, I'll help you heal. We'll talk about other things later. Lin Yun used a little force with his arm, pulling her forward. Ling Shuangxue was pulled into his embrace. Don't do this, I still have things to deal with. Ling Shuangxue was a little nervous and flustered, although she had long been mentally prepared. But every time there was such intimate contact, she was always as nervous as the first time. This also made Lin Yun feel very interesting, with a somewhat inexplicable thrill. Just leave those matters to the people below. You should focus on healing first. At least restore your magical power first. Otherwise, how will you respond if there's an emergency later? Lin Yun knew that only by discussing such matters of critical importance would his senior sister likely obey. Indeed, Ling Shuangxue immediately looked up at her junior brother, the sect master. What? Are there still enemies coming to invade? How dare they? Do they really think our sacred sect is a soft persimmon? Her voice was filled with a chilling coldness. The surrounding temperature seemed to drop a bit. Lin Yun embraced his senior sister's waist. He squeezed slightly, and it was still as soft as ever. Not for now, but it's hard to say about later. Moreover, that old fellow from the Divine Phoenix dynasty might come to demand someone. Lin Yun leaned down and sniffed near his senior sister's ear. He said softly. The warm breath tickled her ear, and Ling Shuangxue couldn't help but blush. Senior sister, you're truly beautiful. Looking at Ling Shuangxue's pretty face, Lin Yun couldn't help but say. Senior sister's beauty was very unique, like a clear and pure ice goddess. Her aura was as clean as fresh snow, carrying a faint coolness, making one unable to resist the urge to conquer her. Who told you to capture their Phoenix Maiden Princess? Ling Shuangxue's voice unconsciously softened. There's a reason I did that. She was very useful to that old monster, and now I've ruined it. Lin Yun didn't directly say that he had directly defiled the Phoenix Maiden. Oh, I see. No matter what you do, we will support you. Ling Shuangxue looked up, her eyes filled with determination. Lin Yun lowered his head slightly. Their foreheads touched, intertwining. Of course I believe in you. You are the most important people to me, so you must take good care of yourselves. Don't be so impulsive next time. Lin Yun's palm slid slightly. Senior sister's waist was very soft and warm. You too. Ling Shuangxue closed her eyes. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly. I'll help you restore the origin qi in your body. Lin Yun said, breathing heavily. Ling Shuangxue nodded slightly. Then, she tilted her head back, revealing her fair swan-like neck, her face filled with shyness. Lin Yun lowered his head. There were many ways to transfer qi. Between lips and teeth, it was naturally one method, and a very efficient one at that. This kiss was earth-shattering. Ling Shuangxue's complexion also became increasingly rosy. Her aura began to slowly recover. Their cultivation techniques were originally of the same origin. It was just that senior sister leaned toward extreme cold qi, while Lin Yun cultivated destructive power from yin and yang qi combined with the extreme Tao of demons. After a long time, the two finally separated. Lin Yun's lips curved into a smile. Senior sister, how is it? Isn't this method very good? Ling Shuangxue bit her lip, turning her head to the side. Clearly, she was a bit embarrassed. Ha 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 ha. Lin Yun loved to see her in this bashful state. He couldn't help but reach out and pinch her chin, turning her head back. Wanted to do it again. Ling Shuangxue bit her lip. Sect Master, you should go see Elder Shueji. I'm already fine. Lin Yun's eyes were burning, unmoved. There's no rush for that. Besides, I feel like you could still improve your technique. Junior brother will teach you. Don't do this. Ling Shuangxue's struggle was somewhat weak. Chapter 24. The 5 major immortal sects forced the Empress to abdicate. At the same time, as Lin Yun expected, in the distant imperial palace of the Divine Phoenix dynasty, countless magnificent palace complexes densely covered every corner of the site. They were so resplendent that they were somewhat dazzling. The Divine Phoenix dynasty was the largest and most powerful ancient imperial dynasty on the Tianyuan continent. Its population was well over 10 billion. Legend has it that it was protected by an ancient immortal phoenix. The imperial dynasty's human Tao luck had been flourishing from tens of thousands of years ago until now. Every year, countless sects came here to find suitable immortal Tao seedlings. They also formed karma with the imperial family of the Divine Phoenix Imperial City. Therefore, Huang Lian, you had the ability to rally the 9 great immortal sects. Under the pretext of eliminating devils and defending the righteous path, she led an army of 1,000,000 immortal Tao forces to jointly besiege the yin-yang sacred sect. Of course, the premise for all of this was actually the tacit approval or even support of the old imperial master, Huang Lingtian. Otherwise, a mere imperial edict from the empress would not have achieved such an effect. Moreover, the imperial dynasty also promised that it would not take a single coin from all the treasuries within the demonic sect, coupled with the fact that Lin Yun already had grievances with the various immortal sects. The leaders of the several sect masters then reached an agreement. Then, a mighty army was dispatched, with their swords pointed directly at old Devil Lin of the yin-yang sacred sect. They just hadn't expected old Devil Lin to be so ferocious and despicable. He had secretly break through to the Ascension realm. This was simply a huge trap he had dug for them to jump into. On this day, inside the Imperial Palace's Grand Council Hall, the leaders of the Immortal Dao allied forces secretly returned here. Only this time, 3 were missing. Sect Master Ling Outyin of Lingxiao Sect had already perished. Sect Master Yu Changfeng of Yuhua Gate and Dean Ruqing Song of Howren Academy. Both would forever sleep in that land. The Empress of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty, Huang Lianyu, personally received the few individuals. A perfectly good situation, ruined by you all, and my Phoenix Maiden was abducted by that devil head right under your noses. Do you still have the face to come here and demand an explanation? Huang Lianyu's face was cold. On her exquisite and dignified face, gloominess was so heavy it seemed to freeze. She wore a magnificent imperial robe. Embroidered on it were exquisite, beautiful, and lifelike immortal phoenixes. Spreading their wings and soaring, they appeared vibrant and alive. Her aura alone was enough to make the 5 Sect Master Supremes opposite her appear somewhat inferior. Benefactress Huang, that's not right. It was you who found us and brought us together at that time. You swore at the time that it would be foolproof. Now, the main reason for this disastrous outcome is the inaccurate intelligence from your Divine Phoenix Dynasty. Great Master Yuanjue of Great Ming Ancient Temple retorted sharply, although their losses in terms of numbers were not too great this time. However, those they brought were the elite of the elites. The weakest cultivators were at the spirit platform realm. Losing even one made their hearts bleed. This time, more than half of them died directly. Their 10,000-year legacy was already on the verge of collapse. The imperial family and immortal sects and noble families within the Great Ming Imperial Dynasty were now eyeing the ancient temple covetously. What the Great Master said is absolutely true. My heavenly profound sect suffered a loss of 300,000 disciples this time. This cannot be simply brushed aside. Xian Tiangong's face was grim. His position as sect master was already unstable. Lei Zhenxiao of Zixiao sect was even more direct. My Zixiao sect suffered over 100,000 casualties among its elite disciples this time, and the Purple Cloud Divine Lightning Spirit of the sect was consumed countless times. These losses you must compensate. Jian Wuji of Taiching Sword Gate did not speak, but his gaze was as sharp as a sword, staring directly at the Empress. Everyone, please calm down. In my opinion, compensation is definitely necessary, but the specifics still need to be discussed to come up with a plan. Old Taoist Wuchen of Longevity Taoist Temple was even more shameless. Looking at these hypocritical immortal Tao leaders, Huang Lianyu burst out laughing. Her clear laughter was somewhat harsh in this setting. So many years have passed, and I didn't expect you to still be so shameless. Lei Zhenxiao, you were begging to join at that time, weren't you? Xian Tiangang, I didn't force you either, did I? At least you are still alive now, and you still have the right to stand before me. The other 3 sects were not so lucky. What? If there are benefits, they are yours, but if there are losses, my Divine Phoenix Dynasty must bear them alone. How can there be such a good thing under heaven? Huang Lianyu naturally could not agree to such a thing. Otherwise, even with the Imperial Dynasty's foundation, it would likely be completely emptied. The 8 immortal sects alone suffered hundreds of thousands of disciple deaths. Countless personal disciples and intersect disciples were killed or injured. How could this debt ever be settled? It would probably take emptying all the imperial dynasties tens of thousands of years of accumulated treasures, and it still wouldn't be enough to compensate. Moreover, why should their imperial dynasty bear the responsibility? Huang Lianyu had long known the nature of these people, so she was well prepared. Besides, all of this was already within her plans. Her ultimate goal was still aimed at her own old ancestor. Blame it on these self-proclaimed righteous immortal sects for being too greedy. And is right. You people should go back to where you came from. My Divine Phoenix Dynasty no longer welcomes you. Furthermore, the old Imperial Master is about to come out of seclusion and will go to the demonic domain to bring back our Phoenix Maiden. If you're interested, you can go together. A pale-faced young man in brocade robes walked out from the side hall. The nobility and strong Imperial Dynasty luck on him were, in the eyes of cultivators, a naked death exemption token. This was Huang Lingtian's 8th-generation grandson, the most talented Phoenix Crown Prince within the Divine Phoenix Dynasty today. However, his bloodline was still a notch below Huang Shi's, but his status was equally noble and unspeakable. He was the only person in the Imperial Dynasty who could directly meet old ancestor Huang Lingtian. Wudao, you come a good time. Please see our guests out for me. I'm a bit tired. Huang Wudao looked at the peerlessly beautiful Empress Ant, a trace of well-hidden greed and apprehension flashing in his eyes. Aunt, you go rest. Leave this to me. Saying that, he alone looked at the several sect master supremes whose status and cultivation were higher than his. He showed no fear. This was naturally the confidence given to him by his old ancestor Huang Lingtian. Besides, this was their divine Phoenix dynasty's territory. Who would dare do anything to him? As she turned around, a trace of disgust flashed in Huang Lianyu's phoenix eyes. Huang Lingtian and Huang Wudao. Both were devils who climbed onto their imperial dynasty's body and sucked its blood. She had long understood their sordid thoughts, especially this damned Huang Wudao, who actually harbored such rebellious thoughts towards her. It was bad enough that he usually coveted Huang Xir. He even dared to fantasize about her. Didn't he fear being slapped to death by his own old ancestor? But he was just a dog raised by that old, undying one anyway. Huang Lianyu knew very well that this audacious nephew would not have a good end. He would be the first to die when the time came. It was just that he still had some use for that old monster at the moment. His daring to harbor sordid thoughts towards herself and the Phoenix Maiden was already a path to death. If she could see it, how could that old, undying one not? Huang Lianyu left directly, not wanting to get involved anymore. Next, the old monster should come out of seclusion. He is probably somewhat apprehensive now, but he has no choice. Both she and Huang Xir were tonics he had cultivated for many years. They were his only hope for ascension to the immortal realm. So he would definitely go to the demonic domain to probe a bit. At that time, she hoped they would both suffer heavy losses. That would be her opportunity. Once she truly took sole control of the imperial dynasty, she had a way to obtain the true immortal phoenix legacy, achieving the Tao fruit of an immortal. Just like the Empress ancestor Ji Xiao, 10,000 years ago, ascending to the heavens in broad daylight. Huang Wudao's appearance represented the invincible old imperial master, unless they also invited their respective old monsters from behind the scenes. Otherwise, they no longer had any leverage. Walking out of the imperial palace, Xian Tiangang, Lei Jinxiao, and Jian Wuji looked at each other. Why don't we go and take a look then? Xian Tiangang tentatively suggested. From a distance, old Taoist Wichan was already a bit scared. Agreed. Jian Wuji spoke little. Their losses were actually even more severe. Countless flying swords were destroyed. One must know that a sword cultivator's wealth and life are half tied to their sword. Many disciples were now more miserable than if their wives had died. On the other side, Huang Wuji watched the several seniors leave. He also turned and went to the imperial mausoleum. Here, it was said, lay the remains of a true immortal phoenix. It was the foundation of the divine Phoenix dynasty. Huang Lingtian usually cultivated and guarded the spirits within it. Except for the grand imperial dynasty sacrifices, even the empress could not come here. Evidently, some secret was hidden within, and Huang Lingtian wanted to enjoy it exclusively. Huang Wudao came to report the situation. Watching Huang Wudao, this grandson whose bloodline was separated from his by countless generations, leave with indifferent eyes. A murderous glint flashed in Huang Lingtian's eyes. Although he had lived for tens of thousands of years, his courage was actually not very great. Always hesitant and cautious. Some fellow Taoists of his era had long since ascended or had already died. Only he had continued to live on. Perhaps there were still a few of his peers in some deep mountains, old forests, and secret realms. His rise to power back then was illegitimate. He had ambushed and killed the Empress, extracted her bloodline and divine soul, refining them into a grand pill. Only then did he break through to the Ascension realm in one fell swoop. But that was as far as he got. Moreover, the flaw was very obvious. His Tao fruit was not at perfection, and his Tao was incomplete. And he also carried a very deep karmic obstruction of immortals and devils. Generally speaking, he would absolutely not be able to overcome the Ascension tribulation. So he had lingered until now. But after years of research, he had a new plan, which was to continue devouring Phoenix Maidens. And Phoenix Maidens with extremely high bloodline concentration. Huang Lianyu was originally the best choice. But her heart nature was that of a prodigy, outwardly agreeable, but inwardly defiant, guarding against her old ancestor from beginning to end. Huang Xir was originally also his backup, but now she had also fallen. How similar the scene was. He had originally thought it was foolproof. That's why he confidently allowed Huang Xir to go and pick the fruit to shorten his own waiting time. Thinking of that junior from the demonic sect who had also breakthrough to the Ascension realm, Huang Lingtian felt a surge of terror in his heart. Could it be that this was his tribulation? No wonder they all spoke of the great heavenly Tao tribulation. It cannot be avoided, but no matter what, he had to go and probe it himself. Chapter 25 Master's Extreme Emperor's Bag. Meanwhile, within the Yin-Yang sacred sect, Lin Yun had just released Senior Sister. Stepping out of the courtyard, Lin Yun licked his lips, savoring the moment. He even brought his hand to his nose and sniffed. The faint milky fragrance made him somewhat intoxicated. Suddenly, Lin Yun narrowed his eyes slightly. He looked at the sea of clouds in the sky. A premonition arose in his heart. Has that old fellow, Huang Lingtian, come out of seclusion again? But he shouldn't be here so quickly. He's probably still hesitating right now. Lin Yun understood that old immortal quite well. He was most afraid of death, cautious to the point of being abnormal. If he were him, he would have taken advantage of the situation. He would have long since found a way to that Empress. If all else failed, he would have drugged her. Dragging it out until now has only allowed the other party to grow strong enough to threaten him. When he heard the news of his breakthrough, he was probably scared to death. Perhaps he's still thinking some inexplicable nonsense about himself being his tribulation or something. However, Huang Shi'er was too important to him, so he definitely wouldn't give up easily. He would just wait for him to come at his leisure. Once he was high and mighty, disdaining him. Now, he made him unreachable. If he killed him or crippled him, that old immortal would definitely hide. At that time, Huang Lianyu, let's see who can protect you. Perhaps you might be praying for both of them to be injured so you can reap the benefits. But you're still too naive. The more Lin Yun recalled the details now, the more he felt something was wrong. He always felt that he had been schemed against. Using the simplest method of elimination, whoever benefits the most, whoever is the ultimate beneficiary, is the mastermind. Then the answer was obvious. It was that hateful woman, Huang Lianyu. But what Lin Yun didn't expect was that the other party even threw out her nominal Phoenix Maiden as bait. Truly, the most poisonous woman's heart. Such a woman, only then is it interesting to conquer her. Lin Yun was even more excited now. At that time, if he didn't do it 100 times, he wouldn't be worthy of the suffering he endured. Lin Yun was still very confident in himself. Perhaps his current foundation couldn't compare to those old immortals. But he had the advantage of youth with abundant qi and blood. Moreover, he was not afraid of the ascension tribulation. This was his greatest advantage. So Lin Yun was not flustered at all now. All he had to do was wait. Lin Yun stayed in place for a while. He also reviewed the entire process in his mind. After confirming that his current strength allowed him to confront the old strange Huang head-on, then he went straight to his master, Elder Yun Xueji. She was directly hit hard by the Tianxin seal. She was undoubtedly the most seriously injured. She probably wouldn't be able to fight in the short term. Yun Xueji had always been an elder of the Yin-Yang sacred sect. When Lin Yun first joined the sacred sect, she was already an intersect elder. Initially, there wasn't much interaction between the two. At most, they had met a few times, until Lin Yun began to show his talent. He even started to make enemies with many disciples within the sect. He was ostracized and subjected to various schemes. But he fought his way through. Relying on his own strength and ruthless personality, he quickly entered the elder's sight. In the final intersect grand competition finals, Lin Yun even became the biggest dark horse, directly becoming the champion. He took first place. Lin Yun still remembered that feeling to this day. It was one of the peak highlights of his life. And then, relying on the reward for first place, Lin Yun could directly choose an elder to be his master. Lin Yun looked at the many great figures. He wasn't too interested. Only the stunningly beautiful Yun Xueji piqued his strong interest. What was the point of cultivating with a group of big men? Cultivating with a beautiful master was what provided motivation. Lin Yun ultimately surprised everyone by choosing Elder Yun, whose strength was not considered top tier. This also made everyone drop their jaws. At that time, the Sect Master Supreme even repeatedly confirmed that Lin Yun had not made the wrong choice. This is also why Lin Yun's cultivation is so profound now. While Yun Xueji was somewhat ordinary, her cultivation, on the contrary, was a bit superficial, and later on, it was Lin Yun who supported her, providing her with status, power, and resources. Lin Yun was also very glad about his choice, because Elder Yun also had a senior sister, Ling Shuangxue, who was also stunningly cold and beautiful, making his path of immortal cultivation also full of charm, not so boring and tasteless. After so many years of getting along, many things were already understood implicitly. Only the final step remained. For those who cultivate the Tao, age is just a number. Status is not that important either. But Lin Yun later suppressed the entire demonic path by himself. He even directly challenged the sect Master Supreme. He even directly fought with anger, directly causing the other party's soul flying away and spirit scattering, dying on the spot. And from then on, established his own demonic supreme prestige. Perhaps the only setback in his life was being betrayed by the white moonlight, Huang Lianyu, during the divine ability realm. That time, he was pursued by many righteous path prodigies. If he hadn't escaped quickly with his blood-escaped divine ability, he would have almost been beaten to death. That woman, greedy for power and profit. Lin Yun always remembered her gift to him. Arriving at the top of the mountain where Yun Xueji resided, there was a grand hall standing in the clouds. This peak was named Yunxiu Peak. It was one of the 12 major nodes of the many immortal veins within the sacred sect, and also one of the formation eyes of the sect protecting formation. Therefore, the spiritual qi was incomparably dense. Yun Xueji was seriously injured, so this was naturally the first choice for healing. Lin Yun didn't greet anyone. He directly bypassed everyone silently, out of a certain psychological reason. He didn't want anyone to know he had come. Lin Yun's figure was like a ghost, wandering among the many gardens, pavilions, and sleeping quarters within the hall. However, what puzzled him was why he didn't see her. But her aura was clearly within the palace. Immediately, Lin Yun stood in place, closed his eyes, and carefully sensed for a moment. Only then did he confirm a certain direction. As the protector Grand Elder's palace, the interior was naturally intricate and had many formations. So Lin Yun wasn't reckless, lest he alarm the disciples and cause a joke. Following the aura, Lin Yun arrived at an inconspicuous small building deep inside. This place was already a bit secluded. It was deep within the purple bamboo forest. A gust of mountain wind blew. The rustling bamboo forest made one feel exceptionally relaxed. Lin Yun didn't knock on the door, directly changing his form and passing through the wooden door. Arriving inside the house, her aura was already right in front of him. Lin Yun suddenly had a sense of accomplishment, like finding a treasure trove. Thinking of giving his master a surprise, Lin Yun did not make a sound. Then, Lin Yun's eyes widened instantly. Was she bathing? Lin Yun looked at the small white jade bathtub in front of him. Layers of white gauze were spread around, gently swaying. Inside the tub, dense spiritual power had transformed into mist. Was she healing while also bathing? Lin Yun understood. In the air, a faint fragrance seemed to linger, making one feel inexplicably hot. Inside the bathtub, Xueji seemed not to have noticed him. She leaned quietly against the edge. The misty water barely covered her chest. Yun Xueji's figure was the most voluptuous Lin Yun had ever seen. It was even somewhat excessive. Full breasts and ample hips. She was an ultimate enchantress. Lin Yun involuntarily felt a little parched. Looking at the scene before him, Lin Yun couldn't help but swallow. Her long hair floated on the water like ink, forming a stark contrast with her snow-white skin. Lin Yun's eyesight was excellent. He could even see water droplets slowly sliding down her fair, delicate skin. Lin Yun's eyes were somewhat heated. His breathing involuntarily became heavy. Perhaps she had discovered him, because Lin Yun noticed her breathing was somewhat uneven. But neither of them made a sound, as if they had reached some kind of tacit understanding. This made Lin Yun even bolder. He admired her without restraint. His gaze was naked. Arriving at the shore, Lin Yun looked at the black dragon-patterned imperial belly band hanging nearby. He instinctively reached out and took it. It felt very soft to the touch, silky smooth and cool. The golden dragon patterns embroidered on it were lifelike. Yun, you're here. Yun Xueji's voice was gentle. She had actually noticed someone had entered much earlier. At first, she was startled. Then she realized it was Yun'er, so she naturally relaxed. That's why she hadn't spoken. Some things, it was time for them to have a conclusion. If it dragged on any longer, Yun'er would ascend to the upper realm. I came to see you. Lin Yun put down the dragon-patterned belly band in his hand. His gaze lingered on the direction of the bathtub. Now that you've seen me, are you going back? Yun Xueji's voice seemed to carry a hint of teasing. Lin Yun's lips curved slightly. I haven't looked closely yet. I heard you were injured, and as your disciple, I feel a little distressed. I must examine in detail where you were injured. Lin Yun slowly approached. Oh, this master injured her chest. Do you want to see? Lin Yun swallowed. Naturally, I do. Such an injury. Perhaps only I can help you recover completely. Then you can look. Yun Xueji had long been prepared for this day. As the sound of Lin Yun entering the water echoed, Vicious Disciple refers to Lin Yun. Chapter 26. You smell like another woman. Lin Yun had no pity for women. Moreover, Yun Xueji's cultivation was profound. Lin Yun also had no major concerns. This was emotion that had been suppressed for thousands of years. Soon, the pond water dried up and the bed collapsed. When he came out of the room, he almost had to lean on the wall. This period of time had truly exhausted him. However, the joy he experienced within it, only he could understand. Yun Xueji followed behind him. Her face was more enchanting and radiant than peach blossoms. There was no longer any trace of injury. She was completely like a happy little woman who had just been nourished. She wore a black Chong Sam-style dress, accentuating her incredibly graceful figure. Her long, dark hair was coiled up. Stray strands of hair casually fell behind her. Lin Yun finally knew what the belly band looked like when worn. And then, he was excitedly back for several hundred more rounds. Looking at Yun Xueji's heart was filled with happiness and contentment. You seem a bit tired. Didn't you do anything good a few days ago? Who was that woman? Yun Xueji naturally held Lin Yun's hand. Reporting to Master, that is this disciple's Tao companion. Lin Yun naturally wouldn't tell the truth. Besides, even if he did, no one would believe him. To say that he tricked the Empress ancestral master to the lower realm and then dual cultivated with her, draining her cultivation, that would be too shocking. However, this time with Master Yun Xueji, it was a genuine mutual replenishment. All of Yun Xueji's depleted origin was restored. Lin Yun was naturally a bit tired, but it was nothing. He'd probably be fine after a day's rest. And the wonderful taste of it all made Lin Yun incredibly infatuated. More than that, it was actually psychological satisfaction. After all, a wish of so many years had finally been fulfilled. Then there were also junior sister and senior sister. Let's wait a bit for them. He really couldn't handle any more. Good things shouldn't be consumed all at once. Next time, don't be so reckless with such severe injuries. But don't worry, that Xian Tiangang is dead for sure. Lin Yun had already marked Xian Tiangang for death in his heart. That's not important. You need to be careful. That old thing Huang Lingtian should be on his way now, right? Yun Xueji was naturally aware of these matters and could make her own judgment. It was impossible for the other party, in terms of both reason and emotion, to just let things go. Huang Shi'er was the face of the imperial dynasty. By the way, did you eat the Phoenix Maiden? Yun Xueji said, pulling Lin Yun's ear with a playful scowl. No wonder, I'll let you off this time. Next time you come to me, you're not allowed to have contact with any other women. Yun Xueji's face held a hint of resentment. This is actually unavoidable. I'll tell you a secret. Master, come closer, I'll tell you. Lin Yun smirked and pulled Yun Xueji over. He breathed a soft sigh near her delicate ear, making her tremble slightly. Her cheeks and earlobes flushed with an alluring pink. Only then did he softly whisper the greatest secret of the divine Phoenix dynasty. Yun Xueji had initially been a bit distracted. Her mind was still on the earlier taste. But now, she became somewhat serious. You mean that old pervert Huang Lingtian wants to cultivate with Huang Lianyu and Huang Shi'er to absorb their essence? Lin Yun held her and nodded. Yun Xueji's figure was very full and soft. Yes, so I struck first, directly shattering that old immortal Huang Lingtian's hopes. Lin Yun said without any psychological burden, especially in front of Yun Xueji. She wasn't some kind-hearted person either. In fact, in some aspects, she was even more wicked than him. Yuner, you did a splendid job. Yun Xueji directly kissed Lin Yun's face, leaving a faint lipstick mark, since the boundary had been crossed. Naturally, there was no more shyness or awkwardness. They were both great figures, demonic path powerhouses. Their mental state had long since transcended those worldly formalities. From now on, you can only call me by my name, understood? Yun Xueji extended a slender, white finger to her lips, blocking Lin Yun's advance. No, I'll call you whatever I like. I'm the Sect Master Supreme. Why should I listen to you? Lin Yun somewhat domineeringly pushed her hand away. Who knows how long passed? The two slowly strolled through the purple bamboo forest again. That Tao companion of yours, she's not simple, is she? Yun Xueji couldn't help but ask. She had also secretly taken a peek. That aura was too frightening. No matter what, even without cultivation. But aura is something that cannot be faked. She'll be leaving after a while. You can all just pretend she doesn't exist. I'll arrange everything then. Oh, and don't let anyone disturb her. She's very dangerous and very important. Lin Yun held Yun Xueji's hand. It was somewhat soft and smooth. As long as you know what you're doing. Seeing Yuner not elaborate, Yun Xueji also didn't ask any more questions. Her wish of so many years had finally been fulfilled. She was in a very good mood now. Moreover, that feeling was even more wonderful than she had imagined. You must come to see your master often from now on, okay? Yun Xueji's full, sensual lips held a smile. Her eyes were somewhat captivating. I'll come every few days as long as I'm here. Lin Yun was indifferent to this. He'd humor her for now. Anyway, women are all the same. They like to hear nice words. He certainly wouldn't be so dissolute and immoral. He still had to cultivate. Longevity was the only and ultimate pursuit. Leaving Yunqiu Peak, Lin Yun was also a bit absent-minded. He felt a bit empty inside, perhaps kidney deficiency. He seemed to be too busy. How would he live like this in the future? He still needed to find time to go out, to settle scores with those people while planning for Huang Lianyu. Then, the Empress Ancestral Master should also be almost ready to return to the immortal realm. At that time, after he went into seclusion for a period and reached a bottleneck, he could go out and travel, seeking a suitable world for ascension. That was the path he ultimately had to take. Now, it was merely a small interlude. Of course, he also had to thank the pressure given by that woman Huang Lianyu. Otherwise, some things would indeed have been difficult to break through. Recalling the taste of Yun Shueji, Lin Yun was also lost in endless aftertaste. Coming out of Yunqiu Peak, it was already the next day. It was estimated that that old thing Huang Lingtian would arrive by tomorrow at the latest. He'd better go see the Empress Ancestral Master first. Lin Yun's figure transformed into a wisp of green smoke. He prepared to return to his palace to see Ji Xiao. After the sex affairs, with so many elders, he didn't need to worry. Ji Xiao was originally a bit relieved, because that beast Lin Yun hadn't appeared before her last night. She had thought he had changed his ways. She didn't expect him to go out and eat wild game. He was indeed a lowly beast, driven only by primal desires. Ji Xiao's face was full of disdain, her eyes filled with mockery. What Lin Yun hated most was her gaze. He always felt his self-esteem was somewhat hurt. I don't want to see you. Ji Xiao showed no sign of giving Lin Yun any face. She directly drove him away. If it weren't for the seal not being lifted, she wouldn't want to stay here for a moment. Moreover, if she went out in her current weak state, it would probably be even more dangerous. If she encountered some damned mortal ant, she feared it would be the same encounter again, and it might even be more tragic. This lowly mortal at least looked human. Ji Xiao was very clear about the cruelty of the lower realm, so she could only temporarily humble herself here. I just came to see you. Do you hate me that much? Lin Yun forced a bitter smile. Don't give me that. You know what you did. You have the scent of at least 4 women on you. Are you a rutting boar? Ji Xiao said with a hint of sarcasm, her tone even more cutting. She didn't know why, but she was very angry now. Super angry. This damned mortal actually went out and messed around, seeing that she dared to ridicule him so much. Lin Yun also got angry. He directly closed in on her, pinning Ji Xiao against the wall. If you keep this up, don't blame me for being impolite. Don't forget, you can't resist me now. Believe it or not, I'll do it 100 more times. Lin Yun said fiercely. His face got closer and closer. Their breaths mingled. Ji Xiao turned her face away in disgust. If you dare, then try it. I'll directly self-detonate for you to see, and let this world be buried with this emperor. Ji Xiao seemed to have bathed again last night. The scent on her body was slightly different. Lin Yun sniffed. His eyes were clear, not clouded by desire. I don't believe it. Would you be willing to give up all your cultivation? Lin Yun leaned close to her ear. Ji Xiao only felt her earlobe become somewhat moist. Her body couldn't help but tremble. Chapter 27. No way. The Empress is jealous? Looking into Ji Xiao's eyes, Lin Yun knew he was taking a risk. But anyone who has kept pets knows there's a psychological principle called desensitization. Simply put, if you do it a few more times, it will be fine. A bottom line that has been probed is no longer a bottom line. Ji Xiao's face involuntarily flushed. Don't touch me with your dirty mouth. What's the difference between what you say and farting? Ji Xiao asked with a look of derision. This damned man. He deceived her again and again. Lin Yun ripped open her long dress, exposing her fair shoulders and collarbone, as well as her indescribably exquisite breasts. You provoked me first. Lin Yun's breathing grew heavy. Ji Xiao suddenly stopped moving. Her pupils were filled with bone-chilling, killing intent. A violent power, capable of destroying heaven and earth, stirred within her, seemingly ready to awaken at any moment. Lin Yun was startled and swallowed hard. She was serious, but he still didn't get up. He hadn't lost this contest yet. You wouldn't dare. Lin Yun stared intently into Ji Xiao's eyes. From her gaze, Lin Yun couldn't detect any emotion or desire. This made Lin Yun's heart tremble. This shouldn't be happening. She seemed to be angry. Lin Yun was somewhat puzzled. But then his heart stirred. He seemed to understand something. The corner of Lin Yun's mouth curved slightly, revealing a smile. Xiao, are you jealous? No way. You are a high and mighty empress. How could you be jealous of a mortal like me? Lin Yun couldn't quite believe it in his heart. But based on his understanding of women, it seemed genuinely possible. Women are like that. regardless of status or position. She might not want you. She might humiliate you. She might call you an ant. But if you turn around and get together with her best friend, it will make her question everything. And it will ignite intense jealousy and hatred. After understanding this dynamic, Lin Yun suddenly felt much lighter. Although she might only be instinctively uncomfortable, it also indirectly indicated that she wasn't truly detached from worldly affairs. She still possessed humanity and a woman's heart. The light in Ji Xiao's eyes seemed to flicker slightly, followed by an even stronger surge of anger. You lowly mortal, don't be so conceited. Were you, that I would be jealous of you? Ji Xiao suddenly found an unknown strength. She actually pushed Lin Yun away from her. She was breathing slightly, and she pulled her dress up, covering the captivating beauty. Lin Yun regretfully took a few more glances. However, he was truly in a state of postcoital clarity right now. Otherwise, he might not have been able to control his impulses. Although Ji Xiao had not experienced love between a man and a woman, she knew what jealousy meant. Therefore, an unknown fire immediately flared up. That was simply a blasphemy against herself. How could she possibly have such a lowly emotion? Lin Yun knew that Xi Yao might be somewhat embarrassed and angry, so he stopped provoking her further. Women in this state can easily lose their rationality. If she really exploded at him, it would be big trouble. He had just achieved a good thing with Yun Xueji. He couldn't just throw it all away like this. However, she actually did have possessiveness towards him. This was something Lin Yun hadn't expected. His chances of survival seemed to have increased significantly. All right, maybe I overthought it. Lin Yun shrugged. I was impulsive just now, I'm sorry. A true man must be able to bend and stretch. Now, appeasement was the priority. Ji Xiao sneered. She didn't believe a single word from this smelly man's mouth now. A lying ant, a lowly, inferior life form. I warn you, if you disrespect me again, I will die right in front of you. After speaking, Ji Xiao frowned. She felt that saying this seemed to put her at a disadvantage. It's dragging you along. Everyone you care about, the entire world will be buried with me. Ji Xiao was truly born with a silver spoon in her mouth. At birth, her father was the highly respected Yin and Yang saint monarch, one of the three great saints. He was as famous as the first empress of the Divine Phoenix dynasty. And Ji Xiao's talent was that of a prodigy, not to mention her appearance and figure were hailed as the best in the world. She even smoothly became the sect master supreme. She basically had no contact with ordinary people from the outside world. After leaving behind numerous legends, she ascended to the upper realm. In the upper realm, due to her outstanding talent and appearance, she was also regarded as a celestial being by the immortals there. She directly joined the powerful Immortal Alliance. She became a core seed member and was cultivated. It can be said that her journey was smooth sailing, with almost no setbacks. Compared to the struggling Lin Yun, it seemed she was the true protagonist. However, her flaws were also very obvious. She was completely blank when it came to human relations and matters of love between men and women. Normally, it wasn't a big deal. After all, she was a high and mighty empress of mortal king. Who would dare to disrespect her in front of her? She just didn't expect to fall into the mortal world and be toyed with by Lin Yun, this bumpkin. Lin Yun looked at Ji Xiao, who was still exquisitely beautiful despite gritting her teeth. He felt a little smug. The more she acted like this, the more it proved that he had guessed her thoughts. As the saying goes, the truth is a sharp knife. Perhaps she herself hadn't even noticed. She now resembled a young wife arguing with her husband, threatening to hang herself. If you don't love me, I'll die for you to see. Seeing that she was even more naive and less cunning than he had imagined, Lin Yun couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He really seemed to be too much of a scoundrel. However, everything was fate. MHM, everything you say is right. Lin Yun shrugged perfunctorily, but his passive attitude made Ji Xiao angry again. Are you even listening to what I'm saying? She sat up a little straighter. Lin Yun was also sitting on the bed at this moment. The two looked at each other. Lin Yun's eyes were filled with calm. Ji Xiao, who should have been emotionless, instead appeared somewhat emotional. Could this really be her inner demon tribulation? I'm listening. I've recognized my mistake. Lin Yun composed himself, still intending to coax her like a little girl. And I promise I won't make the same mistake again. I'm a lowly mortal. How could I profane a high and mighty being like you? Lin Yun almost couldn't help himself as he spoke. But Ji Xiao, however, found it quite pleasing. She slightly raised her chin, appearing somewhat arrogant. At least you know what's good for you. For some reason, seeing Lin Yun soften and admit his mistake, Ji Xiao actually felt a little happy inside. This inexplicable emotion made Ji Xiao frown. Then she quickly suppressed it. Then, as if remembering something, she stared intently at Lin Yun. Also, can you please stop having such dirty and vulgar thoughts all the time? Are all the women outside like you? Ji Xiao's words had a hidden meaning. In fact, she just didn't want him to touch other women, but she couldn't say it directly. Lin Yun subconsciously rubbed his nose. This woman sure was nosy. Luckily, she wasn't his wife. Otherwise, wouldn't he be doomed? However, it seemed he could use this to threaten her. Although she had no magic power, the knowledge in her mind should still be there, right? Didn't he have a big problem recently? How I am is my freedom. Do you have the right to control me? Don't think that just because you're the Empress Ancestral Master, you can boss me around. Lin Yun said indifferently. This provoking demeanor made Ji Xiao bite her lip, a surge of anger rising again. But then, Lin Yun changed the subject. If you want me to agree, then tell me one thing. This matter involved Lin Yun's upcoming plans. However, he wasn't sure what kind of chain reactions it would cause, and he was afraid of getting himself into trouble. So he wanted to ask the knowledgeable Empress. Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun indifferently. Lin Yun was too lazy to bother with her expression. This woman was used to being high and mighty, and she couldn't change in a short while. He said to himself, "You should know Huang Lingtian, right? That old fellow will come to trouble me. I want to severely injure him, but I don't think he'll really fight me to that extent. I'm afraid he'll run, but I have no way to force him to fight me. And I'm also afraid that both sides will be injured and someone else will take advantage. So I thought a method. Do you think it'll work?" Ji Xiao was somewhat cold, but she still unconsciously listened. Her beautiful eyes flickered slightly. Of course, she knew that cowardly Huang Lingtian. Seeing that she didn't respond, Lin Yun didn't care. She wasn't deaf. My heavenly tribulation for ascension hasn't been overcome yet, right? I plan to trigger the heavenly punishment tribulation when I fight him. This way, the heavenly Tao should envelop that old monster as well and settle accounts with him, right? But if that's the case, will the heavenly tribulation not be super doubled due to external interference and strike me down as well? Lin Yun asked the doubt in his heart. He didn't want to accidentally kill himself for no reason. Ji Xiao's heart stirred. This seemed like a good idea. But this damned mortal, why should she help him? I can't wait for you to die. Why should I tell you? Ji Xiao said with a sneer, her voice full of mockery. Lin Yun looked at her cold and charming appearance and felt a stir of desire again. He just loved her high and mighty goddess demeanor. Chapter 28. Tricking the Empress into teaching the immortal techniques. What do you want to do? Looking at Lin Yun's somewhat fervent gaze, he seemed to be stirring. Ji Xiao cautiously shifted her body backward. Lin Yun coughed. This is a deal between us. Didn't you say I shouldn't touch the wildflowers outside? Tell me the feasibility of this plan, and preferably impart some secret techniques to me. Lin Yun rubbed his hands, his eyes filled with anticipation as he looked at Ji Xiao. With his current thousand-fold talent, cultivating was as simple as eating and drinking. Cultivating new secret techniques and divine abilities would probably be a breeze. Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun as if he were an idiot. You and I are irreconcilable. I will definitely kill you. Grinding your bones to dust won't sate my hatred. You actually want me to teach you? Are you begging me? Ji Xiao's demeanor seemed to change at this moment, returning to that of the aloof ancestral master empress from the very beginning. Lin Yun was a bit confused. However, since he was indeed asking for a favor now, he would reluctantly cooperate with her. That old thing, Huang Lingtian, had too great an impact on his upcoming plan. This stumbling block must be removed. Otherwise, how could he deal with that wretched woman, Huang Lianyu? Yes, I'm begging you to help me, Lin Yun said with a serious expression. The secret that could interfere with the heavenly tribulation must be of a very high rank. For him, it was also a priceless treasure. After all, he might need it when undergoing tribulation in the future. Ji Xiao was a bit surprised. She hadn't expected this vulgar and shameless mortal to actually be so obedient. This immediately brought a small measure of comfort to her tormented mind over the past few days. She didn't seem to realize that she had already been PUA'd. Ancestral Master Empress, as a distinguished figure, you must possess unparalleled wondrous methods, right? Only by overcoming this tribulation can the sect truly turn the crisis into safety. And at this point, Lin Yun paused. And you wouldn't want me to die by someone else's hand, or even under the heavenly tribulation. That would be too easy for me, right? I'd rather be cut into 1,000 pieces and ground to dust by you later. But the sect's 10,000-year foundation cannot be destroyed in my hands, Lin Yun said earnestly and solemnly, as if he truly believed it in his heart. At this moment, he seemed to have once again become the sect master supreme, who was willing to die for the greater good of the sect. Ji Xiao looked at the determination on old Devil Lin's face and couldn't help but feel a little dazed. Could this be his true self? Had she misunderstood him all this time? Immediately recalling her previous experiences, Ji Xiao quickly snapped back to reality. This damned big liar. She would never believe him again. However, Dying like this would indeed be too easy for him. Frowning slightly, Ji Xiao fell into contemplation. Seeing this, Lin Yun was overjoyed. It seemed there was really a chance. No matter what, after I ascend to the immortal realm, can I still escape your grasp? Do you think I would be content to hide in the lower realm for a lifetime? Lin Yun said somewhat proudly. Even if I, Lin Yun, die standing, I will never live kneeling. Lin Yun declared with a righteous and awe-inspiring expression. Ji Xiao's jade-like hand in her sleeve moved slightly. Do your previous words still count? She looked at Lin Yun. What? Lin Yun didn't react. When I'm around, you're not allowed to flirt with others outside and dirty my eyes. Ji Xiao explained, feigning reluctance. Lin Yun was already overjoyed in his heart. This kind of thing was a minor matter anyway, and she actually cared so much. This was truly somewhat unexpected. Moreover, she really seemed to understand Thunder Taoist magic and immortal arts. He was about to strike it rich. Lin Yun had always envied Thunder Taoist magic. The power of thunder, the most rigid and pure divine power in heaven and earth. The main reason why the demon sect disciples suffered heavy casualties in the Great War was the Zixiao sect's Thunder Taoist magic. Not only was its range vast, but its power was also fierce. Yes, once I speak, it's hard to take back. I will naturally keep my promise. Lin Yun's face felt a little hot as he said this. He glanced at the Empress. Indeed, Ji Xiao's face held a hint of sarcasm. I'll trust you one more time for now. Remember, I don't want to see you die too easily. You can only die by my hand, understand? Ji Xiao was somewhat domineering at this moment. Lin Yun gulped. At such a critical moment, forget all that other stuff. He'd even call her mom if she wanted. Yes, I understand. Please, Ancestral Master Empress, teach me. Lin Yun said with a solemn and serious expression. Compared to immortal law legacy, all other desires and emotions could wait. Let me think. Give me a blank jade slip. Although Ji Xiao couldn't use magic power or divine soul power, her mental energy was still present. Lin Yun was overjoyed and quickly took out a brick-like, oversized jade slip. Ji Xiao thought for a moment. She actually didn't know much about Thunder Taoist magic. However, there was one Thunder Taoist magic that seemed very suitable. She had accidentally obtained it from an ancient ruin. It was just very difficult to cultivate. Even she only knew a little of its superficial knowledge. Thinking of this, Ji Xiao couldn't help but ask, it seems too late for you to cultivate now, isn't it? Lin Yun was eagerly looking forward to it. It's fine. The more I understand, the more confidence I'll have. And my talent is exceptional. Perhaps I'll have an epiphany all of a sudden due to my innate talent. Lin Yun said shamelessly. He was very confident. 1,000-fold talent was no joke. This wasn't a simple superposition. Lin Yun felt like he was an entirely different species now. He had many bottlenecks before, but in the past 2 days, he had unknowingly comprehended all of them. What is this? Get another one. Ji Xiao saw Lin Yun's confident assertion and didn't bother to say anything more. Anyway, this was all she could do. But this brick-sized jade slip was hideous. It's a large-capacity jade slip. Lin Yun chuckled sheepishly. Seeing Ji Xiao glare at him unhappily, he took out a thumb-sized, exquisite jade slip. This was immortal art. Upon reaching the Ascension Realm, one could begin to access immortal law. Watching Ji Xiao press the jade slip to her forehead, seemingly engraving something, Lin Yun nervously rubbed his hands. The other party currently had no magic power or divine ability, so she could only record information this way. The efficiency was a bit slow, otherwise it could be completed in an instant. After a while, Ji Xiao, looking somewhat fatigued, tossed the jade slip to Lin Yun. This Supreme is a bit tired. You may withdraw. The Thunder Taoist magic she obtained was called the Nine Heavens Thunder Division Orthodox Law. It was an orthodox Thunder Tao immortal law, containing an entire legacy and various Thunder divine abilities. It even included explanations of Thunder Taoist magic, making it a priceless treasure. Even if an immortal emperor knew about it, he would probably covet it. Lin Yun felt as if he had found a treasure. Clutching the jade slip tightly, he was about to leave. Ji Xiao frowned. This shameless scoundrel truly forgot righteousness for gain. Lin Yun only reacted halfway, turning to look at Ji Xiao. Then you rest first. I'll go comprehend the immortal law now. With that, Lin Yun unhesitatingly went to his cultivation chamber. Ji Xiao watched Lin Yun's departing back, a strange feeling in her heart. Could he really learn it? If he did, it might cause her some trouble in the future. The escape speed of Thunder Taoist magic was no less than spatial traversal, and it was ever-changing, possessing various forms. However, no matter what, the disparity in cultivation realm was there. He still couldn't jump too high. She could kill him with a single slap. Thinking of this, Ji Xiao relaxed a little. At that time, she would arrange people to guard all the ascension platforms here. As soon as this damned ant appeared, he would become her prisoner. Ji Xiao herself didn't realize that her hatred for this mortal seemed to have shifted somewhat. Meanwhile, Lin Yun was currently filled with shock. Nine Heavens Thunder Division Orthodox Law. It was actually a complete, orthodox, thunder, Taoist, magic legacy. Lin Yun felt incredibly lucky. He had originally thought it was some minor secret technique, but he hadn't expected Shi Yao to directly give him a legacy. A true thunder Taoist magic legacy. As is well known, thunder Taoist magic is further divided into 5 thunder orthodox law, 10 thunder divine arts, and countless thunder Tao divine abilities. It is the foremost of all Taoist magic and the supreme of Taoist magic. Moreover, its uses are endless. Most importantly, it can also increase the success rate of undergoing tribulation. Lin Yun sat cross-legged on the enlightenment platform, eagerly beginning to comprehend its mysteries. The more he comprehended, the more shocked Lin Yun's expression became. This was simply a true immortal art. He had thought that yin and yang Taoist magic was already heaven-defying enough. This thunder Taoist magic could actually complement his yin and yang Tao. Thunder is also divided into yin thunder and yang thunder, and there are various types of thunder Taoist magic, such as heavenly thunder, earth thunder, divine thunder, and 5 elements thunder. Yang thunder is essentially heavenly thunder, corresponding to the extreme yang qi of heaven and earth, instantly killing all evil spirits. Yin thunder's effect seems similar, but it's a step lower and is more friendly to female cultivators. And he, who already cultivated the Tao of yin and yang, could harmonize yin and yang, so the most difficult threshold in the thunder Tao orthodox law simply didn't exist for him. Lin Yun was beside himself with joy. His thunder Tao foundation was innate. Next was comprehension. This presented no difficulty for him whatsoever. This was undoubtedly like adding wings to a tiger. Lin Yun immediately became engrossed in cultivation, losing interest in everything else in the outside world. Meanwhile, Huang Lingtian was currently on his way to kill him. Chapter 29. Old Demon Lin. Why don't you come and kneel down to welcome old ancestor Ling Tian? As the saying goes, cultivation knows no time. Time quickly arrived at the next day. The disciples of the Yin-Yang sacred sect were agitated by the constant thunder throughout the day and night. Unbeknownst to them, at some point, the lightning spirits between heaven and earth seemed exceptionally active. Every now and then, a sudden clap of thunder would echo, seemingly out of nowhere. Sometimes, thunder would rumble continuously. Thick bolts of lightning, like divine dragons, weaved through the clouds, leaving many disciples with lingering fear, especially when recalling the previous battle. The Zixiao sect's thunder array had not stopped that day. It was almost as if they were cleansing the ground with lightning techniques. Ji Xiao was inside the sect master's palace. A look of surprise was on her face. Although her magical power was gone, her perception and spiritual senses remained. The sudden activation of lightning elements between heaven and earth shocked her. Was that shameless fellow truly such a prodigy? In just one day, he had already begun to master it. This was simply unimaginable. Even in the immortal realm, Ji Xiao had never heard of anyone being such a prodigy. A bad premonition suddenly arose in her heart. What if he later escaped her control? Perhaps, after she was unsealed and recovered some magical power, she should just directly use an immortal artifact to kill him. But in that case, she might also be targeted by the heavenly Tao. Perhaps it would be more trouble than it was worth. Moreover, that would make his death too easy, wouldn't it? Ji Xiao frowned, somewhat conflicted. Inside the cultivation chamber, Lin Yun's face was filled with joy. He stretched out his palm, looking at a ball of lightning dancing within it. This was the most basic lightning technique, palm thunder. He hadn't actually achieved mastery, as Ji Xiao imagined. In fact, he had only just begun to grasp the basics. But he also knew that his time was limited, so he didn't delve into those difficult lightning divine abilities. Distant water cannot quench a nearby thirst. Therefore, Lin Yun only allowed himself to understand some basic profound truths of lightning techniques. Then, it was about improving his affinity for the lightning element, using his already proficient yin and yang power to neutralize the volatile lightning power. He made himself immune and affinity to lightning. This was Lin Yun's main objective. As for those powerful lightning Tao divine abilities, Lin Yun could only stare blankly at them for now. Time was running out. By then, as long as he could slightly influence the heavenly tribulation's lightning punishment, it would be enough. He didn't seek to be completely ignored. At least, it shouldn't target him. It was well known that cultivators who could cultivate lightning power couldn't possibly be from the evil path, right? Lin Yun thought with a touch of smugness. He, this great devil head, reviled by everyone in the outside world, had actually mastered lightning power. He imagined many people would drop their jaws. After a moment of self-admiration, Lin Yun closed his eyes again and began to comprehend. This lightning Tao righteous path technique was truly incredible. The more Lin Yun comprehended, the more profound and extensive it felt. Could this be the legacy of some lightning Tao heavenly monarch from the immortal realm? Lin Yun believed he had only grasped a superficial understanding for now, but with his talent, given time, he should be able to achieve mastery. From then on, he would have another trump card. Time quietly passed. Lin Yun was a bit surprised that old ancestor Huang Lingtian hadn't arrived yet. It seemed he was even more cautious than Lin Yun had imagined. During this time, his junior sister and senior sister also came to look for Lin Yun, but seeing him in seclusion, they didn't disturb him. Ji Xiao also lived in the sect master's bedchamber. During the day, she was meticulously served by the sect master supreme's exclusive maidservants, as he had instructed. Although Yin Xueji and the others had some complaints about this, they couldn't openly object. They could only turn a blind eye. Based on previous experience, perhaps after some time, the sect master supreme would get tired of her. Then he naturally wouldn't keep her in the sacred sect anymore. What Lin Yun didn't know was that, tens of thousands of miles away from the Yin Yang sacred sect, Xian Tiangang of the Heavenly Profound sect and Lei Xiao of the Zixiao sect, along with Jian Wuji and others, 5 leaders of righteous immortal sects who had narrowly escaped death, had quietly returned. The reason for their audacity was, of course, another young man not far from them, dressed in a magnificent dragon-patterned imperial robe. This young man looked very handsome, with his hands clasped behind his back and a head of white hair. He fit the description of a youthful face with white hair. However, his eyes were gloomy, his lips slightly thin, and his brow bone somewhat protruding. He gave off an impression of being vengeful, very sinister, and not someone to be trifled with. The several leaders of the righteous immortal sects were all somewhat cowering. In front of him, they were like children. This person before them was the old ancestor of the divine Phoenix dynasty. He had lived for an unknown number of years. Figures from his era had either ascended, died long ago, or were in a state of living death, in permanent seclusion, long vanished from the eyes of the world. Huang Lingtian's eyes were not large, but somewhat narrow and long, appearing cunning and sinister. At this moment, his eyes were filled with doubt. Looking at the distant base of the Yin Yang sacred sect, why was there rumbling thunder over there? The sacred sect had been on the demonic path for so many years. They should have long since severed all ties with lightning divine abilities. Could it be that some treasure or medicinal pill was undergoing the baptism of a lightning tribulation? Huang Lingtian looked at Lei Xiao. The Zixiao sect, in the past, was the leader of the righteous immortal sects. But after so many years, it had also declined somewhat. After all, lightning techniques were very demanding on talent. Back then, the old ancestor of the Zixiao sect, Immortal Master Zixiao, was someone even he had to avoid. Huang Lingtian was overestimating himself a bit here. Back then, he didn't just avoid him. He was clearly a coward. He was scolded by Immortal Master Zixiao, who pointed his finger at him. What's going on over there? Is that the remaining power of your Zixiao sect? Huang Lingtian's voice was somewhat gloomy and filled with death qi. It didn't match his current youthful appearance at all. His qi and blood had actually already begun to wither. The fact that he could maintain his body's immortality for so many years was actually because Huang Wudao had been collecting boys and girls born at midnight from the divine Phoenix dynasty all these years. He extracted their bloodline and divine souls, refining them into a blood pool. Huang Lingtian usually soaked in the blood pool. This was already an act that angered both gods and men, utterly inhumane. If it were exposed, it would likely cause a huge uproar, and he would directly be labeled as the demonic path among demonic paths, just like the Yin-Yang sacred sect. Lei Xiao narrowed his eyes. He carefully sensed the lightning element power in the sky. It was very unfamiliar, not of the same school as their Zixiao sect. It somewhat resembled innate Yang lightning, but within it, there also seemed to be Yin lightning. This left him somewhat perplexed. But could he say that? Obviously not. That would make him the only remaining great master of lightning techniques, seem too incompetent. Reporting to Old Ancestor, that is the remnant of our thunder array. Interacting with heaven and earth, it was imprinted into the void realm, so it needs time to dissipate. Lei Xiao came up with a very grand explanation. He almost believed it himself as he spoke. Xian Tiangang looked at fellow Taoist Lei with some confusion. Earlier, when they were being chased like stray dogs, he had glanced back. He didn't seem to have found any remnant lightning attribute power. Did this thing have a delay? Although he had some doubts in his heart, Xian Tiangang didn't say much, because he wasn't an expert in this area. He didn't want to make a fool of himself in front of the old ancestor. The other 3, Jian Wuji, Old Taoist Wuchen, and Master Yinjue, also kept their eyes downcast. They didn't speak if it didn't concern them. Although Huang Lingtian was a senior old ancestor, They also held noble statuses, so they couldn't actively humble themselves like dogs. Otherwise, their own old ancestors would be so angry they'd jump out. Huang Lingtian, in that bygone era, didn't have a good reputation. He was a complete villain, seeing the heavenly thunder disappear again over there, as if it had never appeared. Huang Lingtian also felt that perhaps he was being overly cautious. In front of these juniors, he felt a bit disgraced. He also cared about his face. You are truly useless. A mere yin-yang demonic sect actually caused all of your great immortal sects to fall. An Ascension Realm cultivator who has just broken through is nothing more than a baby learning to walk. Before this venerable one, he is no different from an ant. Watch as this venerable one goes to demand an explanation for you. Huang Lingtian stood with his hands behind his back, looking like an enlightened senior. Although Xian Tiangang and the others were somewhat displeased in their hearts, having been inexplicably belittled, they still had to bow their heads. Senior's lesson is right. We ask old ancestor to display his divine might and make that old devil Lin die without a burial place. Old Taoist Wuchen said somewhat fawningly, "Please, Ancestor Ling Tian, display your divine might." The several immortal sect leaders exchanged glances and also clasped their fists and bowed in unison. Huang Lingtian snorted coldly. He felt somewhat pleased. He hadn't emerged from seclusion for so many years, and he was a bit lonely. Being flattered by these few immortal sect leaders reminded him of his glorious years. "All of you follow me." Saying that, Huang Lingtian no longer concealed his aura. His towering aura shattered the clouds in the sky. The group of 6 instantly arrived before the sacred sect's mountain gate. The area had not yet been repaired. It was still a scene of ruins. The ground was dark red, stained by blood. The strong smell of blood and resentment made Huang Lingtian narrow his eyes in intoxication. Having soaked in the blood pool for so long, he enjoyed this bloody scent. Xian Tiangang stepped forward. He sank his chi into his dantian and shouted loudly, "Old Devil Lin, why do you not quickly come out and kneel before Ancestor Lingtian?" Lei Xiao and the other 4 also began to act arrogantly, borrowing the power of others. "Old Devil Lin, your death day has arrived. This old man advises you to commit suicide and return to heaven." The Yin-Yang sacred sect instantly fell into chaos. Then came endless rage. These villains actually dared to insult their sect master supreme in such a way. They had already chosen the path of death. Inside the secret chamber, Lin Yun, surrounded by lightning, slowly opened his eyes. A dazzling flash of lightning flickered and vanished. Chapter 30, Where Does the Wild Dog Come From? Yin-Yang Sacred Sect. The sect protection grand array, which had once dimmed, lit up again. Countless disciples put down what they were doing. With serious expressions, they looked up at the few giants outside the mountain gate. "It's actually him. He's come out of seclusion. What do we do? Can the sect master supreme resist him? The old ancestor of the divine Phoenix dynasty is here again. Last time, Lin Yun captured Huang Lianyu, shocking the world. However, the divine Phoenix dynasty did not directly send troops, because the demonic sect was not a pushover either. Instead, they awakened ancestor Huang Lingtian to come out of seclusion. He forcefully arrived at the sacred sect's mountain gate, demanding her return. Furthermore, he ridiculed Lin Yun quite a bit and demanded a substantial compensation. Lin Yun could be said to have lost face completely that time, although the outside world believed he had taken advantage, playing with the peerlessly beautiful Empress. But only he himself knew. He hadn't completely succeeded at all. There was a restriction on her body that would directly burn her immortal Phoenix bloodline, leading to self-destruction. This was originally a method to deal with Huang Lingtian, but now it had stumped Lin Yun as well. Such a losing business deal was one of the few in Lin Yun's life. What's there to fear? The Sect Master Supreme has now also broken through to the Ascension Realm. Our Sect Master Supreme is wise, mighty, and in the prime of his life. That old monster is definitely not the Sect Master Supreme's opponent. Many disciples also had full confidence in their Sect Master. Soon, all the intersect disciples and personal disciples, the protectors and elders also appeared on various mountain peaks, setting up an inescapable net around the mountain gate. Yin Xueji and Ling Shuangxue also stood solemnly at the forefront of the crowd. "Quiet. Don't panic," Ling Shuangxue shouted sternly. "The Sect Master Supreme alone is enough to resist the invading enemy. Everyone, do your part." The many elders began to orderly arrange the disciples, and the Sect Master Supreme, Lin Yun, whom everyone eagerly awaited. At this moment, he was with Empress Ji Xiao. "You really comprehended Thunder Law?" Ji Xiao's eyes were filled with disbelief. She had originally thought Lin Yun had only a slight comprehension. She didn't expect him to have already entered the Tao. He had already completely comprehended the opening chapters of the Nine Heavens Thunder Division Orthodox law. This was a level she had not even reached. She could only roughly use some simple thunder spells, but they were not complete. Their power was lacking. Coupled with the fact that it wasn't her primary cultivation path, she hadn't put much effort into it. So, to this day, she had not truly mastered it. Lin Yun's eyes were full of confidence. That's right. I've already learned it. Next, I will proceed step by step, and I can completely master it and become a Purple Heaven's immortal lord. Lin Yun said casually and without reservation. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about concealing it, but after careful consideration, it seemed somewhat unrealistic. Firstly, he would have to use it soon to deal with that old immortal, Huang Lingtian. Moreover, the Empress Ancestral Master's intuition and judgment were still sharp. In terms of Dao spells and divine abilities, her experience was not something he could compare to. It would be difficult to fool her. It might even backfire. It was better to display it openly and gain some favorability and trust. Ji Xiao's beautiful eyes still held some disbelief. It had only been such a short time. The other party had actually comprehended a cultivation method that was considered top tier even in the immortal realm. This was not a simple divine ability or spell, but a complete legacy. One could directly cultivate to the immortal king realm. Its preciousness and difficulty were evident. Was this humble mortal actually such a prodigy? A strong sense of vigilance arose in Ji Xiao's heart. Then, she looked at Lin Yun with a somewhat complex expression. It seems you're not entirely useless, but an ant is still an ant. Go on, let me also witness the power of orthodox thunder law. Ji Xiao's expression returned to cold indifference. So what if he was a prodigy? The prodigies in this world were as numerous as carp crossing a river, countless. But how many could ascend to the immortal realm? However, even if one ascended, it was merely jumping from one well into another, still looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. Even she herself had gone through countless hardships to achieve her current Dao fruit and status. Thunder Law was merely that, not truly a heaven-defying legacy, unless one mastered the true heavenly punishment divine thunder. But that was the heavenly punishment power/force. It was the authority of the heavenly Dao, and one would probably need to be at least immortal emperor level to even touch it. Besides that, spatial power was recognized as the most difficult power to comprehend. Unparalleled in attack, and also capable of escape, making it the most troublesome. As for the law of time, there was even less to say. No one in the immortal realm had ever heard of anyone comprehending anything valuable from it. However, this humble mortal now possessed the power to establish himself in the immortal realm. Once he ascended to the immortal realm, he would escape the lowest stratum. It truly allowed him to take advantage. But he was still her prey. It was impossible for him to escape her grasp. A sharp glint flashed in Ji Xiao's eyes. Lin Yun naturally didn't know that the Empress Ancestral Master had thought so much in that instant. She had already re-evaluated him. He was in a very good mood right now. It seemed that ever since the system arrived, his luck had also improved. Thinking of this, Lin Yun subconsciously glanced at the system panel. Aside from a golden, thousand-fold talent shimmering brightly, there was still no movement. However, what he didn't notice was, those few words seemed to be slowly flowing, as if some change had yet to manifest. Then I'll go meet those few mere ants. Lin Yun no longer hesitated. With a flash of his figure, he appeared outside the mountain gate. Sect Master Supreme. The welcoming shouts were continuous. Lin Yun nodded slightly. Countless disciples stretched as far as the eye could see, densely packed both in the sky and on the ground. At this moment, they were all gathered together. It could be seen that many disciples still carried injuries. Their chi was also very weak, but they still bravely and fearlessly fought for the survival and prosperity of the sect. Don't all look like your fathers died. This venerable one is still here, so it's not your turn to fight to the death. After Lin Yun scanned the surroundings, he said in a faint voice. He still maintained his simple and crude style, but it was very effective. The many disciples couldn't help but relax. Based on past experience, as long as the Sect Master Supreme was still scolding people, it meant the situation was very optimistic. If the Sect Master Supreme stopped speaking, then it meant the situation was truly urgent. Just a few mere ants. I'll let you run last time, and now you're back, rushing to reincarnate. This venerable one will come out and meet you. After exchanging glances with his senior sister and junior sister, and giving them a reassuring look, a cold glint flashed in Lin Yun's eyes. With one step, he appeared outside the Sect Protection Grand Array. Old Devil Lin, I thought you were going to be a coward. Seeing Ancestor Huang, why aren't you kneeling to welcome him? Don't say we didn't give you a chance. Now, hand over the person and provide corresponding compensation to make up for our losses. Otherwise, you're dead today. Xian Tiangang and Lei Jinxiao, among others, ridiculed Lin Yun with a barrage of words. Ancestor Huang Lingtian's prestige was well known, so they felt very confident now. But what they didn't know was, in fact, Huang Lingtian himself felt a bit unsure. This was also an information asymmetry. He knew his own situation. Where did these wild dogs come from? So noisy. Lin Yun picked his ears. He looked around with some confusion. Lei Zhenxiao's face was filled with anger. To actually treat them, the dignified leaders of the righteous path, as wild dogs. This was simply outrageous. Old Devil Lin, stop trying to use your glib tongue. You're already at death's door. Xian Tiangong's face also turned pale then flushed. Jian Wuji, old Taoist Wuchen, and Master Yijua, on the other hand, were somewhat silent. It wasn't that they were inarticulate. Primarily, the Dao laws they cultivated required them to maintain a aloof persona. Oh, so is you guys barking? I thought some wild dogs were yelping. Lin Yun looked at them with sudden realization. Immediately after, before they could speak, Lin Yun's entire aura changed, revealing his Ascension Realm aura. Is this where you're allowed to bark wildly? Get lost! Lin Yun roared sternly. Above the clouds, a thunderclap coincidentally rang out, making the few righteous path leaders all tremble. They seemed to have just remembered. The person in front of them was not a pushover, nor was he the old Devil Lin from before, but an invincible expert of the Ascension Realm. He was already not on the same level as them. Being ridiculed like this, their faces couldn't help but turn pale then flush. But looking at Lin Yun, who was now displaying his cultivation aura, they gritted their teeth, not daring to provoke him further. Huang Lingtian had not spoken from beginning to end, maintaining a high and mighty demeanor. But at this point, if he didn't step forward, he himself would lose face. You still have to look at the owner before beating a dog. Little friend Lin, I advise you not to court disaster. However, as soon as Huang Lingtian spoke, the expressions of the few righteous path sect masters grew even darker. Xian Tiangang and Lei Zhenxiao exchanged glances. Damn it, they should have known not to come. They knew this old fellow was ruthless and unreliable. Is that how you talk? The many disciples below also found it somewhat amusing. This made the leaders of the few righteous immortal sects feel the anger in their hearts churning like volcanic lava. But they could only suppress it, not daring to act rashly. Huang Lingtian was also someone who ate people without spitting out the bones, and he was known for being the most harsh and ruthless. If he lost face, he would definitely make an example of them. Chapter 31 Thunder God, help me. Under the gaze of millions of disciples, Lin Yun walked slowly in the sky as if on level ground. He only stopped when he was less than 1,000 meters away from Huang Lingtian. During this process, everyone held their breath. They were afraid that a slight movement might trigger a peak confrontation. Lin Yun looked at Huang Lingtian's face, which he found somewhat repulsive. Logically speaking, those from your era have either died or ascended. Those who should have ascended have long since ascended. How did you manage to cling to life? An old thing like you shouldn't try to act superior because of your age, Lin Yun said unhurriedly. Seeing Huang Lingtian's face twitch, he continued, I heard you survive by devouring your descendants and using living people for alchemy? TSK. I think you're the true leader of our demonic path. Lin Yun looked at Huang Lingtian with a playful expression. This old thing, back then, relied on his high cultivation to ridicule him quite a bit. Fortunately, he knew when to yield and when to stand firm. And perhaps Huang Lingtian also had his own concerns, so the two of them didn't come to blows. But today, it seemed things would be hard to resolve peacefully. Lin Yun was already prepared. His bottom line today was to severely injure this old fellow. As for the few miscellaneous fish nearby, it depended on whether an opportunity arose. If there was an opportunity, it would just be a matter of convenience. Audacious. Back then, I spared your life because I pitied your arduous cultivation. Though you have achieved some success now, you are still a junior. If you remain unrepentant, don't blame me for punishing you. I'll show you how high the sky is and how thick the earth is. Huang Lingtian's face was covered in frost. He was also somewhat surprised. How did the other party know he had been consuming living people all these years? Could it be that woman, Huang Lianyu, who told him? He felt a sense of alarm. However, it wasn't enough to scare him away. After all, his cultivation foundation in the lower realm was already at its peak, reaching its limit. Even two Lin Yuns combined wouldn't have as profound a magic power as him. If not for his withered qi and decaying physical body, Huang Lingtian would have long since emerged to dominate the world. A cold sneer appeared on Lin Yun's lips. Enough with the nonsense. As for the person, I can't possibly give her to you. As for compensation, that's an even bigger pipe dream. Someone, bring Huang Xier up. Lin Yun prepared to further provoke that old fellow, Huang Lingtian, lest he get scared and run away. As Lin Yun's voice fell, several female disciples escorted Huang Xier to the front of the formation. Everyone looked over. They saw that she was still as beautiful as ever. Her appearance and figure alone were unparalleled in the world. But her delicate face showed some weariness. Her eyes were filled with hatred and bitterness, especially after seeing Lin Yun. She gritted her teeth even more. Her delicate body trembled slightly. Seeing this situation, everyone seemed to understand something. Immediately, knowing smiles appeared on their faces. Some female disciples even blushed. Ling Shuangxue took one look and understood that Huang Shi'er had lost her innocence. She immediately frowned. However, no one could be blamed for this. She just felt a vague sense of displeasure. But now is not the time to act on it. Yin Xueji didn't have such thoughts. She glanced at Huang Shi'er, a faint smile on her lips. Her figure didn't seem as good as her own, did it? The junior sister was even more innocent. She was just a little jealous. She hadn't even gotten him yet. This woman actually cut in line. As a super invincible love-struck individual, her sect master supreme senior brother was her heaven, her everything. Huang Lingtian's face was ashen. His hands and his sleeves were tightly clenched in a fist. His sinister gaze was fixed on Huang Shi. How could he not see it? The cauldron he had cultivated for many years was already ruined. This must have been done by old Devil Lin. What did this mean? It meant his path to ascension was cut off again. Did he still have time to wait for and cultivate another cauldron? Huang Lingtian seemed to already have the answer in his heart. As for that woman, Huang Lianyu, she had been wary of him from beginning to end. There was no opportunity at all. She even had no feelings for her clan members. He couldn't threaten her. Otherwise, he would have long since massacred Huang Lianyu's relatives. Taking a deep breath, Huang Lingtian closed his eyes. He felt a sense of despair. Was this the price of avoiding the heavenly tribulation? However, Lin Yun, who caused all of this, must first pay the price. Perhaps he would have other opportunities in the future. I want you dead. Reopening his eyes, Huang Lingtian's dark red pupils were filled with killing intent, staring fixedly at Lin Yun. Lin Yun's lips curled slightly. Ha ha ha, just with you? But you cultivated her really well. I like her very much. As for you wanting me dead, this Supreme has a different opinion. Lin Yun's face was full of smugness. That self-satisfied look made Huang Lingtian even more furious. Behind him, a huge fiery phoenix phantom appeared. It was 1,000 meters in size, covering the sky and obscuring the sun. Its oppressive aura made the protective formation below seem to be tottering. The elders and disciples below were so frightened that they quickly increased their chi output. They hadn't expected them to start fighting without a word. It was a good show to watch. All the disciples craned their necks in anticipation, never considering what would happen if the sect master supreme lost. If he lost, everyone would just go up together, right? Old thing, come on. I've endured you for a long time. Lin Yun flicked his sleeve. His hair, tied directly, shattered, and his black hair danced like a demonic shadow. He was like a true devil head descending. Die for me. Huang Lingtian began to make his move. Xian Tiangang and the others also quickly began to retreat. They directly retreated hundreds of miles. They didn't want to be caught in the crossfire. Who knew if old Devil Lin would take the opportunity to strike them? They were still very cautious. This made Lin Yun feel a bit troubled. However, this did not affect his plan. There was only one main target, and that was this old monster, Huang Lingtian. Huang Lingtian was still somewhat cautious. He only used divine ability from a distance. Phoenix Flame, Heavenly Calamity. Countless divine flames descended from the sky. But this was just an appetizer. This kind of large-scale divine ability was fine for showing off, but it was wishful thinking to cause real damage to a strong person of the same realm. Lin Yun easily resisted it. However, the formation below was sizzling as it was burned by numerous phoenix flames. Seeing this, Huang Lingtian understood. The other party truly possessed the strength of the Ascension realm. His power level had already reached it. Otherwise, it would be impossible to resist his divine ability so freely. Let me properly teach you how to respect your seniors. Huang Lingtian's face was indifferent. He was about to unleash his true ultimate move. His strongest single-target attack. Phoenix Cry Divine Spear. Lin Yun's expression also grew solemn. His entire body surged with magic power, and his aura showed no weakness. Great Sun Dark Sky Finger. He used a peerless demonic path technique. It was also a divine ability where power was condensed to the extreme. At the same time, Lin Yun's aura grew stronger and stronger. Thunder seemed to rumble continuously in the sky. Lei Zhenxiao looked up, his heart stirring. A bold idea emerged, and his face turned pale with fright. He quietly retreated further. Xian Tiangang, seeing this, also followed suit. He knew that this fellow, who seemed the most reckless, actually had the most schemes. Jian Wuji and the others naturally followed suit as well. A gigantic fiery phoenix divine spear appeared out of thin air. It carried the phantom of an immortal phoenix spreading its wings. Its power was monstrous, carrying countless divine flames, like a divine punishment that would destroy the world. It directly plunged downwards. Lin Yun's great sun-dark sky, finger divine ability, went against the heavens. A gigantic pitch-black finger was like a towering pillar. Like Mount Bujo in ancient legends, connecting heaven and earth. It shot up into the sky and directly collided with the fiery phoenix divine spear. An earth-shattering roar erupted. The protective formation below swayed precariously, and in the next instant, it was directly torn apart. Endless, violent, surging aftershocks poured in, causing countless disciples to be thrown into disarray. Fortunately, many elders reacted quickly, joining forces with their own magic power to seal the breach again. But their faces were also filled with lingering fear. Was this the might of the Ascension Realm? It was terrifying to this extent. Their sect Master Supreme was originally so powerful. Lin Yun, however, felt little joy. He sensed it. There was still some gap between his power and that of the old monster Huang. After all, he had lived many more years than himself. This was the accumulation of time. He was now at the peak of the Ascension Realm, while he himself was only in the early stage. He had even just broken through not long ago, feeling a bit unstable. To be able to contend with him on even terms already showed his heaven-defying talent as a prodigy. But what did that matter? What he was utilizing was true heavenly might. Lin Yun looked up at the sky. He saw that at some unknown point, dark clouds seemed to have suddenly appeared, instantly covering thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. Countless tribulation clouds surged. Innumerable thunder dragons could be seen swimming within them. Huang Lingtian's expression changed. No, he was undergoing tribulation. Why hadn't he thought of that? But if so, the other party would also be affected. Although he had long known that the other party had not yet undergone tribulation, Huang Lingtian had never considered this possibility. Cultivators inherently defied the heavens, who wasn't extremely cautious about undergoing tribulation. They wished they could be fully armed. Everyone tried to avoid it for as long as possible. Stop at once. Are you seeking death? Huang Lingtian was somewhat terrified at this moment. The other party's tribulation was merely for breaking through to the Ascension Realm, which was still considered conventional. But his own was a true Ascension Grand Tribulation. That was a true Immortals Tribulation. He was completely unprepared now. Special formations, magic treasures, medicinal pills, nothing was ready. This was forcing him to a dead end. Chapter 32. The potential of the Emperor wants to capture the Queen of the Divine Phoenix alive. Seeing that the heavenly tribulation had already formed, Huang Lingtian's eyes were filled with despair and furious shock. Damn it, you truly deserve to die. Aren't you afraid of dying without a burial place yourself? Huang Lingtian roared in a frenzy, because he discovered that he seemed to have been locked onto. He was already a black household hiding. According to the heavenly Tao rules of the lower realm, he should have undergone ascension tens of thousands of years ago. Either he died, or he ascended to the heavens in one step to become a true immortal. This situation was actually very common in the lower realm. However, a species as rare as him, who had survived by gouging for so many years, was quite rare. But the longer one hid, the more intensely the pressure built. The more violent the heavenly tribulation would be when it arrived. So, it was actually a double-edged sword. This was why most cultivators, once their cultivation reached the required level, would prepare thoroughly and then begin undergoing tribulation. Otherwise, the later it was, the greater the risk. If one gouged for tens of thousands of years, it would almost certainly be a death tribulation. Its power would be several, or even dozens, of times that of a normal heavenly tribulation. It would be impossible for him to pass through it. Lin Yun's eyes shot out a light, as if it were substantial. For him, this was also a huge gamble. If he won the gamble, he would henceforth be the uncrowned king of this world. He could do whatever he wanted. Huang Lian, you would also have to obey him then. If he told her to lie down, she wouldn't dare to stand. Once she lost all her reliance, Lin Yun naturally had many ways to deal with her. Hopefully, his Thunder Dao would be useful. Lin Yun's figure continuously ascended, facing the lightning tribulation directly. Below, Huang Lingtian's expression changed again and again. He wanted to run, but as soon as he had that thought, he found that there seemed to be a will above his head that had already locked onto him. Was there no retreat left? Huang Lingtian's gaze flickered rapidly. Since ancient times, countless seniors and sages had studied how to evade the heavenly tribulation. Naturally, some methods had been passed down, but he had already been locked on it now. Most ancient methods wouldn't work. There was only one last resort, using a scapegoat to deceive the heavenly Tao, and then continue to cling to life. But in that case, half of his Tao fruit would have to self-destruct. Otherwise, how could the heavenly Tao rules be so easily deceived? That meant he would have to cripple his own cultivation, and from then on, ascension would be hopeless. Moreover, he would have to hide for the rest of his life. Huang Lingtian looked at Lin Yun, his eyes filled with killing intent. It was all because of this prodigy, to actually force him to such a state. Below, countless people watched this scene, dumbfounded. The thunder above the sky. Each bolt was several thousand meters long, like a true thunder dragon. Junior sister and Ling Shuangxue also didn't expect Lin Yun to pull such a move again. They all felt a little worried. Sect Master Supreme hadn't made any preparations. He hadn't discussed it with them before either. Yun Xueji's face was full of worry. This disciple was good in all aspects, except that he was incredibly audacious. He actually thought of using this method to drag the opponent into undergoing tribulation with him. But wasn't he afraid of dying together? Countless disciples were also filled with terror. Under the glorious might of the heavens, no one could remain calm. Xian Tiangang also couldn't help but swallow hard. Did you discover something before? He couldn't help but ask Lei Jinxiao. I was also a bit suspicious, but I didn't expect the other party to truly not be afraid of death. But this is also good. This time, both of them will definitely be severely injured. Lei Jinxiao's face revealed a sinister smile. Fellow Taoist is indeed insightful. Old Taoist Wuchen's eyes lit up, and he also understood something. This was about profiting from others' conflict. Ha, just watch. The few of them exchanged glances, all feeling a sense of satisfaction. They began to anticipate the upcoming scene. Lin Yun also felt a little uneasy, because the heavenly tribulation was still continuously strengthening. Just now, the heavenly tribulation seemed to be confirming something. It seemed somewhat disbelieving that such an ancient, old, undying had escaped its surveillance in the lower realm. But now, it had clearly completely locked on a Huang Lingtian, because its power had suddenly increased more than tenfold. The Thunder Dragon also instantly became tens of thousands of meters long, and was several hundred zhang thick. Just looking at it could scare someone to death. Lin Yun also swallowed hard, feeling a little terrified. Was this kind of thing going to strike him next? Who could withstand that? Ji Xiao in the palace also had a somewhat serious expression. This heavenly tribulation was more than 10 times stronger than her own ascension tribulation back then. It was simply impossible to resist. She glanced at Lin Yun, who was going against the heavens. Ji Xiao couldn't help but feel a little worried. Don't die so easily. Countless disciples also began to pray in their hearts. And the glorious heavenly might here also directly alarmed almost half of the Tianyuan realm. Countless cultivators, at this moment, all looked towards the Yin-Yang sacred sect's direction in unison. This is who is undergoing tribulation for ascension. Even many reclusive old monsters were startled. Huang Lingtian's expression changed rapidly. Watching the tribulation clouds continue to brew and strengthen, he was completely disheartened. He couldn't even withstand a single blow. He gritted his teeth and quickly made a decision. Otherwise, it would be too late. Lin Yun looked at Huang Lingtian with a hint of satisfaction. Of course, he knew that the other party might still have some tricks up his sleeve. But that kind of price was no different from dying. Old dog, how is it? How's this young master's method? Ha ha ha. Are you going to cling to life again? But this time you better hide well. Lin Yun laughed wildly, making everyone break out in a cold sweat. Huang Lingtian just gave Lin Yun a deep look. Then he directly bit through the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of vital blood. The blood moved as if it had a life of its own. But this was not enough. He then directly cut his wrist, allowing the blood to flow out directly. Soon, it gathered into a ball in the void realm, slowly condensing into a blurry human figure. Watching this scene, everyone seemed to understand something, and they felt a little disdainful. Huang Lingtian ignored the mocking gazes. Living was better than anything else. This was just the first step. Immediately after, he directly split his divine soul using the incarnation of divided soul technique. This process was undoubtedly comparable to slow slicing, making his face twisted in pain. But this was still not enough. He also needed magical power. Enough magical power to support this substitute. Huang Lingtian hesitated for a breath. Then he once again inflicted a self-inflicted wound upon himself. He separated more than half of all his cultivation Tao foundation, along with half of his blood and divine soul. All of it was injected into the blood-red incarnation before him. And Huang Lingtian also became extremely weak. He glanced at the incarnation, which had become nimble and resembled his twin. His expression held some regret and pleading. You've worked hard, fellow Taoist. Huang Lingtian cupped his hands. It should be so. The incarnation nodded and looked up at the heavenly tribulation. Then, Huang Lingtian gave Lin Yun another venomous look. Only then did he transform into a streak of light and disappear from this world without looking back. He was currently at his weakest and most dangerous moment. Even a void realm cultivator could pose a threat to him. The Divine Phoenix dynasty certainly couldn't be returned to. She and Tiangang and the others looked at each other, and then directly gave chase. The outcome of what followed was no longer important. Whether old Devil Lin could pass the heavenly tribulation or not, for them, did not affect the outcome. If he passed, they would be dead for sure, so why wait to run now? Even if he didn't pass, the few of them couldn't do anything to the demonic sect. It was better to try and hunt down Huang Lingtian. The other party must have a large number of treasures on him. Lin Yun watched Huang Lingtian escape with cold eyes. His goal had been achieved, but next, it would be his great tribulation. Lin Yun looked at the heavenly tribulation, and then glanced at Huang Lingtian's scapegoat opposite him. The two remained silent. Lin Yun began to circulate his thunder Dao. He was seen attracting countless bolts of lightning. They danced around him. In the blink of an eye, they formed a cage. This was the first barrier, and in scientific terms, it was equivalent to a Faraday cage. It could form an electromagnetic field. According to the condition of electrostatic equilibrium for conductors, the cage body is an equipotential body, and its internal potential is zero. His 3 years of high school were not for nothing. Although he didn't know if it would be useful, he might as well try. Even a slight resistance would be good. Everyone was a little confused. Even Ji Xiao didn't know what Lin Yun intended to do. But there was no time to think so much. 2 giant thunder dragons, thousands of zhonglong, were seen swooping down. The one on Lin Yun's side seemed to be a size smaller, but its power was equally not to be underestimated. Watching this world-destroying scene, everyone's hearts were in their throats. With a deafening roar, the result was as expected. Huang Lingtian's incarnation was directly reduced to ashes by the first heavenly tribulation. Nothing remained, turning into dust. As for Lin Yun, his Taoist robe was somewhat tattered, but his body stood ramrod straight. Clearly, he was fine. Everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Sect Master Supreme is invincible. Sect Master is mighty. The numerous disciples began to shout in unison. But Lin Yun still couldn't relax. There were still several more to come. The more heaven-defying the aptitude, the stronger the heavenly tribulation. Lin Yun estimated that he would have at least 5 or 6 heavenly tribulations. According to records, the Empress Ancestral Master seemed to have 6 back then. The great tribulation of ascension to the upper realm was not recorded. That was a secret. But Lin Yun underestimated himself. As expected, his 6th heavenly tribulation arrived. The 10,000 Zhang Thunder Dragon directly shattered all his arrangements and magic treasures. Lin Yun also couldn't help but feel his chi and blood surge. But this was not over yet. Immediately after, the 7th one, Lin Yun was almost bare-chested. Then, under everyone's terrified gazes, the 8th heavenly tribulation fell again. Lin Yun was directly struck into the ground, leaving an unfathomably deep abyss on the surface. But everyone despairingly discovered that the 9th heavenly tribulation was still brewing. Countless disciples were terrified and wanted to scream. Sect Master Supreme is in danger. Junior sister Lu Sueki was held back tightly by Ling Shuangxue and Yun Xueji, not allowing her to go to her death. Ji Xiao, like many elders, was also shocked. There were actually 9 heavenly tribulations. Was this mortal actually such a prodigy? Even she only had 6 back then. He has the aptitude of a great emperor. Ji Xiao's heart couldn't help but beat violently. No, he must die. She absolutely couldn't wait any longer. And Lin Yun, at the bottom of the pit, was also completely naked. Fortunately, it wasn't above ground, otherwise he wouldn't be able to face anyone. Lin Yun looked at his spirited and proud second brother with some relief. This 9 Heavens Thunder Division Orthodox law was even more awesome than he had imagined. It actually weakened the heavenly tribulation to only 1 or 2/10 of its power. Lin Yun noticed that a lot of the thunder power seemed to have been absorbed by him. This somewhat surprised him. Could it be that he had some special physique that hadn't awakened yet? He didn't notice that golden lightning seemed to be flickering over the words thousand-fold talent on his system panel. As the 9th and strongest heavenly tribulation descended, it left a 1,000-meter-wide pit on the ground. Its depth was unknown, as if it reached directly to hell. The tribulation clouds in the sky finally dissipated with some reluctance. Numerous disciples surged out, fervent and frantic. Under the gaze of all, Lin Yun's figure slowly reappeared. He was already fully dressed again. His aura had reached the peak extreme, several times stronger than before. All holy sect disciples, he might command. Follow me to flatten the Divine Phoenix dynasty and capture the Divine Phoenix Empress alive. Lin Yun's indifferent voice resounded in everyone's ears. All the disciples roared excitedly. Flatten the Divine Phoenix dynasty. Capture the Divine Phoenix Empress alive. Watching the scene, Huang Shi'er closed her eyes in despair. She knew the Divine Phoenix dynasty was finished. Mother, I hope you're safe and sound. Immediately after, she was escorted into Lin Yun's imperial traveling palace. This was a flying magical artifact. Chapter 33. Master Sister, I am very angry now. Yin Yang's sacred sect. With Sect Master Supreme Lin Yun's command, countless disciples, like a swarm of locusts, densely shot into the sky. Even before the battle began, they were already excited. It was as if they saw countless beautiful women and heaven and earth treasure waving at them. That was the Divine Phoenix dynasty, rich in resources. How many good things must there be? Although annihilating such an ancient cultivation imperial dynasty was somewhat unrealistic, the resulting karmic obstruction and immense karma would be unbearable. After all, that was an endless territory with hundreds of millions of people, and most of them were ordinary mortals. How innocent were they? Although the people of the sacred sect were labeled as a demonic sect, they were truly not people who indiscriminately killed the innocent. Old Devil Lin, after all, was once a university student who received a higher education. Of course, self-interest came first. If they became his stumbling blocks and enemies, then they could no longer be called innocent. Lin Yun was pleased. With a single command, no one dared to disobey. But this made it hard for the elders. All the high-ranking members of the sacred sect were caught off guard. So many disciples mobilized collectively, and it was a large-scale battle. How could it be like child's play? There were too many things to prepare. Although Lin Yun said they would go all out, in reality, they were only the vanguard. Some disciples still needed to remain behind to guard the rear, responsible for logistics, support, and resource allocation. Master Yin Xueji and senior sister Ling Xuanxue were busy running around in circles. Even the junior sister was busy. Only Lin Yun was leisurely enjoying himself in his flying palace at this moment. But as the sect Master Supreme, and having just undergoing tribulation, he had even defeated the legendary ancestor Ling Tian. His current prestige was second only to the former Empress Ancestral Master. Even if Lin Yun ordered them to die now, it was estimated that a large number of people would willingly do so. The level of this traveling palace was clearly not low. Flying in the air, it resembled a floating island. It could be considered worthy of Lin Yun's status. It even contained 3 palaces and 6 courtyards. At this moment, inside the traveling palace, Lin Yun was sitting cross-legged. No one came to disturb him. Ji Xiao was naturally kept by his side. Otherwise, Lin Yun would not be at ease leaving her. However, she was arranged in another courtyard. In a side room nearby, on a pink bed, Huang Xi'er was lying. She was currently sealed by restrictions all over her body, let alone magic power. Even moving a finger was a luxury. But clearly, her consciousness was clear because her beautiful big eyes still had a glimmer of spirit. Her eyes, though somewhat dim, indicated her inner despair and helplessness. The old ancestor of the Divine Phoenix dynasty had actually been defeated, and so miserably. It could be said to be a complete defeat, with no chance of recovery. Now, the demonic sect army was about to seek revenge in the imperial city. How could this not make her anxious and desperate? Compared to the upcoming battle, her current predicament seemed insignificant. At most, it was like being bitten by a dog. She might as well be bitten a few more times. Huang Xi'er had resigned herself to fate since she had fallen into old Devil Lin's hands, and it wasn't the first time. Thinking of this, Huang Xi'er's face actually flushed slightly. She didn't know if it was from anger or shame. That damned old Devil Lin. He actually took her innocence without a word. He was 100 times more hateful than the rumors said. He was inhuman. He deserved to be struck down by heaven and earth. Huang Xi'er's thoughts were not sealed. She cursed old Devil Lin frantically, and she was also somewhat worried about her own upcoming situation. It was obvious that she would be abused again soon. The room was quiet, so quiet that Huang Xi'er could hear her own breathing. But she knew that the old Devil Lin, who deserved to die 10,000 times, was right next door to her. And Lin Yun, whom she had cursed to no end in her heart, was currently adjusting his breathing and familiarizing himself with his power. After undergoing tribulation, he was truly stable in this realm. According to the cultivation speed of an average person, the Ascension realm might take at least 3,000 years to reach perfection. Even for a prodigy among prodigies, it would take 1,000 years. However, with his 1,000-fold talent, although it couldn't simply be said that the speed increased 1,000-fold, the time should also be greatly reduced. Just like now, Lin Yun felt that he seemed to have stabilized his realm. This was already an astonishing speed. Speaking of it would scare people to death. However, what made Lin Yun feel a bit strange was that he felt a powerful and mysterious energy hidden within his body. It seemed to show signs of recovery at this moment. Could it be that he was struck by lightning and was mutating? But that power seemed to be hidden very deeply, even he couldn't perceive it. Perhaps it was a characteristic of the Ascension realm, but why was there no related record in ancient texts? Lin Yun was a bit confused. He wanted to ask the Empress Ancestral Master, but he also had some reservations. because he found that Ji Xiao's gaze towards him seemed to have changed slightly. Lin Yun thought for a moment and knew where the problem lay. He had undergone an unprecedented 9 heavenly tribulations. This was a feat never before seen in the entire Tianyuan realm. Even legends had no such mention. In the cultivation world, what do you do when facing a prodigy genius? Either win them over or eliminate them. And his talent, so prodigious that it was terrifying, had probably aroused the Empress's apprehension. He needed to find a way to properly soothe her unease. Otherwise, when she recovered her cultivation, although it wouldn't be immortal cultivation, just a half-baked void-breaking realm, she would probably still have many powerful methods. She might even be able to use magic treasure and the like. This was a great threat to him. Lin Yun's heart grew a little irritable. He didn't expect that when everything was going smoothly, a trust crisis would arise because his talent was too strong. However, this would not affect his upcoming revenge plan. The Divine Phoenix Dynasty was the best opportunity now, and also an opportunity for him to make his voice heard and demonstrate his strength. He would use that woman Huang Lianyu as an example to establish his supreme prestige. In the cultivation world, after defeating an opponent, one naturally inherits the opponent's wealth and even their women. Otherwise, how would everyone progress? Just then, Yun Xueji's voice rang out. Yun'er, isn't it too hasty for you to start a major war like this? Yun Xueji still felt some concern. Lin Yun's heart stirred. He watched Yun Xueji's figure appear in his line of sight. Every time he saw her proud chest and her soft, boneless waist, Lin Yun actually praised the heavenly Tao. It had actually created such an exquisite woman. Moreover, that trace of thought in his heart always gave Lin Yun a special feeling whenever he faced Yun Xueji. There was a sense of warmth, that he could completely trust her, but also a strong desire to completely dominate her. Master Sister, you're here. Lin Yun's voice seemed a little playful, causing a hint of annoyance to appear on Yun Xueji's face. I'm talking about serious matters with you. Tell me your thoughts. What exactly are you thinking? Do you have confidence? Yun Xueji walked directly opposite Lin Yun, bringing with her a waft of fragrance. Then she knelt before Lin Yun. Looking at Lin Yun's somewhat infatuated gaze, Yun Xueji felt a little pleased, but also a little embarrassed. She reached out her fair, jade-like hand and gently poked Lin Yun's forehead. This gesture was very bold, and only she had the courage and status to do it. Lin Yun swallowed, suppressing the tremor in his heart. Of course I have confidence. That old fellow Huang Lingtian has already been beaten away by me. He's probably still being hunted down by Xian Tiangang and the others, and he certainly wouldn't dare to return to the imperial dynasty. Besides, I already have an invincible momentum now. Naturally, I must pursue the victory and settle the world in one fell swoop. As Lin Yun spoke, he placed his hand on Yun Xueji's shoulder. His palm slid slightly. The thin gauze dress was very soft and smooth. Yun Xueji seemed not to notice, or perhaps she didn't care. She frowned slightly, as if deep in thought. Don't worry, I have everything under control. It's just that I'll have to trouble you all. Lin Yun pressed his advantage, wrapping his arm around her soft waist. A hint of playful annoyance appeared on Yun Xueji's face. Stop messing around, there's still many things to do. But Lin Yun was persistent. He used a little force and pulled her into his embrace. Her warm, soft body intoxicated Lin Yun a little. Master Sister, I'm very hot right now. Lin Yun's voice was a little hoarse. Yun Xueji's eyes were like silk. Then what should we do? A bold idea surfaced in Lin Yun's mind. He whispered something in her fair, tender ear, making Yun Xueji's pretty face instantly turn crimson, as if it would drip blood. She rolled her eyes, a little coquettish. Her long hair was tied up. Chapter 34. Take me now, please. Inside the hall, Lin Yun gasped, a chill running down his spine. 3,000 words omitted here. Next door, Huang Shier's pretty face was flushed crimson. That damned, shameless lecher. How could he be so depraved, and in broad daylight, no less? And who was that woman? They were simply illicit lovers. Both were utterly shameless. Lin Yun seemed to remember something and quietly eased Huang Shier's restriction a little. This seemed rather interesting. Huang Shier felt she could suddenly move. Her heart instantly jolted. She tentatively wiggled her fingers, somewhat disbelieving. After realizing she could truly move, Huang Shier understood something, gaining an even deeper impression of old Devil Lin's shamelessness. What she could move? Could she escape? Or should she commit suicide immediately? Would he allow her to die? Perhaps she was just deluding herself. Huang Shier's heart grew even more despairing. But the commotion next door made her incredibly tormented. Huang Shier's face was filled with turmoil. an indignant shame. How could she be that kind of person? This made Huang Xir, this noble phoenix maiden, somewhat unable to accept it. Who knew how long passed? Yun Xueji finally left, looking utterly satisfied. Huang Xir was also somewhat drenched in sweat. Her dark hair was damp with perspiration, clinging to her cheeks and collarbone. Lin Yun, draped in a long robe, came before her. Looking at her, Lin Yun couldn't help but feel a stirring again. The air was filled with an alluring scent. A playful smile appeared on Lin Yun's lips. You should be able to hear me, right? What are you doing? Are you enduring so much hardship? Do you want this uncle to be benevolent and help you? Lin Yun sat down on the soft couch. Huang Xir felt like she couldn't face anyone right now. She closed her eyes. Two streams of clear tears flowed uncontrollably. They were particularly distinct on her fair, flushed cheeks. Lin Yun watched. He reached out and gently wiped her cheek with his fingertip. Her skin was incredibly delicate, like white mutton fat jade. Actually, what Huang Xir didn't know was that all of this was Lin Yun's doing. Just now, he had circulated the yin and yang joyful union sacred scripture. That invisible energy field had affected Huang Xir next door. It was as if Huang Xir had also been forced into this game. She was currently physically exhausted and without magical power. Naturally, she couldn't control herself. Feeling Lin Yun's touch, Huang Xir couldn't help but tremble slightly. She didn't know if it was out of fear or sensitivity. Lin Yun gently gathered her sweat-dampened hair strand by strand to one side. He seemed to be enjoying the process. He then took the nearby towel, preparing to wipe her clean, drenched as she was in fragrant sweat. He gently wiped her cheeks, neck, collarbone, and chest. Afterward, Lin Yun sniffed the towel. It smelled fragrant. Huang Xir, who opened her eyes and witnessed this scene, had a complex expression on her face. Her breathing was somewhat heavy. You scumbag, stop pretending to be a good person. If you want it, then come and get it. Huang Xir bit her lip. Her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Lin Yun smiled. I see you're practically begging for it, but I don't want to. These words immediately made Huang Xir bristle. She struggled and sat up at once. Although still incredibly weak, she still glared at Lin Yun, her beautiful eyes seemingly spitting fire. You damn devil head, don't you dare slander me. I'm not that kind of person. Huang Xir was, after all, just a young girl. How could she endure such humiliation? She didn't even know what love was, let alone having liked any other man. Huang Lingtian had naturally been very attentive to this cauldron he had specially cultivated. He absolutely did not allow her to interact with other members of the opposite sex, which only made it convenient for Lin Yun. Lin Yun was also somewhat taken aback by Huang Xir's sudden outburst. Then, somewhat amused, he pulled her into his embrace. Of course you're not that kind of woman. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Huang Xir struggled to leave, but she had no strength. Instead, her draped gauze skirt slipped down, revealing her slender shoulders and collarbone. Lin Yun glanced at her, but made no further moves, merely holding her gently. His other hand gently stroked her back, just like coaxing a child. Huang Xir didn't know what was happening to her for a moment. Suddenly, she didn't want to leave. Long periods of suppression and fear, coupled with the recent shame. Under the accumulation of emotions, she was already on the verge of collapse. Little did she know, all of this was part of Lin Yun's plan. The grievances in Huang Xir's heart suddenly erupted, and she began to sob. Her cries were loud, surprising even Lin Yun. Her tears instantly soaked his chest. Lin Yun even felt if he had gone too far. To bully someone until they were so wronged. But if you have to blame someone, blame your stepmother. Lin Yun, who had just felt a hint of softness, hardened again. Moreover, on second thought, she did seem quite pitiful. Her entire life seemed to be that of a tool. Like a marionette, she was manipulated. From birth, because of her bloodline's power returning to its ancestral state, she was chosen as the Phoenix Maiden. She was a chosen one, noble beyond compare. Her family was also glorified because of her, but she was also tragic because of it. She was the cauldron chosen by ancestor Huang Lingtian. She was a substitute for her most respected imperial mother, and she herself had been completely unaware of this throughout her life. Even this expedition was a scheme by Huang Lingtian and Huang Lianyu. As he thought about it, Linyan even felt some pity for her. She was indeed a girl with a bitter fate. Linyan sighed in his heart. Very well, he would help her. After all, she was now his woman. He couldn't just let her live in such confusion. Huang Shi'er cried to her heart's content, as if all her grievances and fears had been released. Then she was too shy to lift her head. It was truly too embarrassing. She actually cried loudly in the arms of this shameless scoundrel. She couldn't face anyone. Huang Shi'er was screaming in her heart, her small head buried in Lin Yun's embrace. She refused to look up. Lin Yun didn't mind, gently stroking her back. I want to tell you some things. You can choose not to believe them. Lin Yun intended to let her know some truths. Huang Shi'er's shoulders trembled slightly. She said nothing. Do you know why you were chosen? Why you, a mere heavenly elephant realm cultivator, were made to lead the divine phoenix army to attack me? Actually, you were used. Your most respected imperial mother, including ancestor Lingtian. They were all using you. Lin Yun's voice was soft and gentle, as if narrating a distant story. Huang Shi'er didn't know when, but tears silently streamed down her face once again. Silent weeping. Lin Yun gently patted her back, feeling a pang of heartache. So, Huang Lianyu used you as a fuse to deal with me, and also with Huang Lingtian. And Huang Lingtian, from beginning to end, regarded you as a substitute, cultivating you as a cauldron. He also wanted you to gain enough luck in this great battle, and then break through your cultivation, so that he could enjoy you. But what they didn't expect was that I was one step ahead. They have all lost now. I, the scoundrel you speak of, became the biggest winner. Lin Yun lowered his head and brushed aside Huang Shi'er's long hair, looking at her pretty face, which at this moment seemed lifeless. He couldn't help but feel a little pity. You have your own judgment. You know whether what I said is true or false. So, can you tell me your choice now? Lin Yun asked softly. Huang Shi'er's dim eyes flickered slightly. At this moment, her heart was like dead ashes. The one spirited her was already dead. The Phoenix Maiden of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty, the next Empress, was dead at this moment. She had never imagined that her fate would be so tragic. Everything was calculated. Everything was destined. The radiant her was merely a substitute, the old ancestor's cauldron. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. A trace of deathly gray flashed in Huang Shi'er's eyes. She had already entertained thoughts of suicide. Kill me, please. Huang Shi'er's voice was surprisingly calm. Lin Yun frowned slightly. Why so fragile? Shouldn't she be angry and seek revenge? To make them pay an eye for an eye, blood for blood. You seem to have forgotten something. Lin Yun had a plan. You are now my woman. I forbid you to die. No one can make you die, much less bully you. Huang Shi'er's eyes trembled. A faint glimmer of color and life, chi, seemed to emerge. Shall I go and seek justice for you? Lin Yun said, cupping her face. As a man, Lin Yun felt he was quite qualified. Huang Shi'er closed her eyes. Her heart suddenly felt a little touched, and also very conflicted. She hadn't expected that the person who was ultimately best to her, her final destination, would be the scoundrel she hated to her bones. She closed her eyes. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly. Take me right now, please. Huang Shi'er made her choice. She proactively offered her red lips. This surprised Lin Yun, yet it was also within his expectations. Chapter 35 Sierra. I am yours now. You have to be good to me. Inside the room, the air was faintly fragrant. Lin Yun leaned against the headboard, the thin blanket slipping down, revealing his muscular chest. His breathing had just calmed. Lin Yun wore a satisfied smile, but his eyes held a hint of inquiry. He glanced at Huang Shi'er beside him, as if guessing what she would do next. After several rounds, Lin Yun surprisingly felt no fatigue. Within his dantian, new power seemed to continuously surge forth. It also seemed related to that power he couldn't control. Huang Shi'er sat curled beside him, her gauze dress crumpled, a patch of fair skin exposed on her shoulder. Her skirt was haphazardly worn, its hem disheveled, and her slender, pale legs made one want to look a few more times. Her long hair clung to her forehead, drenched in fragrant sweat, her cheeks red like ripe spiritual fruit, shining with a dewy luster, making Lin Yun want to bite her again. Huang Shi'er lowered her head to straighten her dress, her fingers still trembling slightly. Her breathing hadn't fully calmed down yet. She had been the one to initiate it, just now. But now that they were quiet, her heart was a tangled mess. Was that wildly demanding woman really her? Could she have suffered chi deviation? Huang Shi'er's mind was in turmoil. The repeated blows had almost made her lose her composure. But at the same time, her heart now felt a little stable, as if she had found her ultimate destination. Biting her lower lip, Huang Xier shyly glanced at Lin Yun. Her eyes were watery, making one feel pity. After a while, Lin Yun saw that she remained silently still. So he propped himself up, leaned closer, and teased in a low voice, "Little Xier, you were quite proactive just now. Are you tired?" He reached out to touch her shoulder, but as soon as his hand extended, Huang Xier instinctively turned her head to dodge, glaring at him, her eyes sparkling with moisture. Her voice was a little hoarse and somewhat stubborn. "You have to forget what just happened." Huang Xier's heart was very complicated right now. It was difficult to change in a short time. She wanted to get closer to this man, but she also found it hard to let go of what he had done to her before. And those bloody truths this man had revealed made her feel so alone in this world, having lost all support. Though her words were firm, her tone carried fatigue and hesitation, as if she had exhausted all her strength. Lin Yun also knew that this matter was indeed rather messed up, but he wasn't in a hurry. After all, the person was already his. His family and holdings were vast, and one more woman wouldn't make a difference. Moreover, she could also be used to restrain that crazy woman, Huang Lianyu. Poor Huang Xier was unknowingly about to become a tool again, but at least Lin Yun wouldn't truly harm her, and he would protect her to the greatest extent possible. Inside the room, spiritual qi still lingered, mixed with her faint body fragrance. The air was so fragrant it made one's heart race. After Lin Yun withdrew his hand, he simply leaned against the headboard, lazily watching her. He saw her lowering her head, rubbing her arm, her beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed, as if enduring some pain. And her neck was also covered in sweat, her hair strands clinging together. He raised an eyebrow, took a clean handkerchief from his space ring, and tossed it over. His tone was a bit roguish. "Little Xier, wipe your sweat. Don't say I abused you again. Besides, you look a bit alluring like this. I'm afraid I won't be able to resist later." Lin Yun's voice was somewhat playful. The handkerchief landed on her lap. Huang Xier paused, then took it and slowly wiped her forehead and neck. Her movements were a bit slow, as if she was deep in thought. She was already immune to Lin Yun's teasing words. She no longer cared. Things were already like this. How much worse could they get? After wiping away her profuse, fragrant sweat, Huang Xier put on her snow-white belly band and clothes again. Only then did she look up at old Devil Lin. A jumble of emotions churned in her eyes. Even she herself didn't know what she was thinking. Huang Xier bit her lip and whispered, "Lin, those things you said, you didn't lie to me, right?" Her voice trembled slightly, as if she deeply cared about this answer, even if he was lying to her. Lin Yun wasn't particularly fond of this address, but the outside world called him Old Devil Lin, which also left him quite helpless. "My name is Lin Yun. You can call me Yun," Lin Yun said first. Then he looked seriously into her eyes. "Of course I didn't lie to you. Those things, if you think about them carefully, you can actually verify them all. That old fellow, Huang Lingtian, what kind of person he is, was fully exposed during the Heavenly Tribulation. The reason he risked coming to me for you is because you were the most important cauldron." Lin Yun's voice was like the whisper of devil. "Enough. Don't say any more. I believe you." Huang Xier couldn't help but shriek. She clutched the handkerchief tightly, her knuckles white, as if holding on with her last breath. But after saying this, she suddenly paused. The doubt and stubbornness in her eyes gradually faded, replaced by a trace of bewilderment. She remembered the words Empress Ancestor had once said to her. At this moment, her heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. How could she do this to herself? Thinking again of her current predicament, she seemed to have no way out. Moreover, he didn't seem as detestable as the rumor suggested. Instead, he was very gentle, except for certain times. Thinking of this, that wonderful feeling of spiritual power blending when they were intimate just now stirred in her heart again, making him feel a sudden panic. Since that was the case, then let's go all the way. The other party's current status was even more noble and indescribable. Even Ancestor Ling Tian was not his match, and he was about to move against the imperial dynasty. She shouldn't hesitate anymore. Otherwise, it would be too late. As the Phoenix Maiden, although she had always been protected in an ivory tower, and had not experienced any setbacks, but she was certainly not foolish. She knew it was time for her to make a stand. Otherwise, what would her initiative just now count as? Would it be considered her being wanton? Taking a deep breath, Huang Xier seemed to have made up her mind. She looked up directly at Lin Yun and whispered, "Yun, from now on, I will consider myself your woman." Upon hearing this, even she herself was stunned, feeling a bit shameful and incredible. But after saying it, she actually felt calmer, the complexity in her eyes transforming into a strange determination. Being his woman didn't seem so bad after all. He was powerful, domineering, and protective of his own. Huang Xier shifted her body, moving closer to him. Because she was turned sideways, her gauze dress slipped down a bit, revealing her fair shoulder. Her voice was as soft as a murmur. You win, Lin Yun. I don't hate you anymore, but you have to treat me well. I also believe what you said. I want revenge, and you must help me. I am your person now. You will treat me well, won't you? Hearing Huang Shi'er say these words, Lin Yun was stunned. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Then the corners of his mouth slowly curved upwards, smiling somewhat meaningfully. Sure enough, she was still a woman. Sigh. Never mind. He would just have to work a little harder. Lin Yun felt a little happy in his heart. His male possessiveness was greatly satisfied, and there was a sense of accomplishment. After all, this was the Phoenix Maiden of his rival. Not long ago, she was still shouting to kill him, wishing for his immediate death. Now, she had become his woman, available for his enjoyment. The workings of fate in this world were truly wondrous. Therefore, everything depended on strength. Lin Yun sat up straight, put his arm around her, and reached out to pinch her round yet somewhat pointed chin, gently lifting it, making her tilt her head slightly to look at him. Then he whispered, Little sure, you shouldn't say such things lightly. Have you truly thought it through? If you betray or deceive me, it could be very tragic. His gaze was very serious and somewhat fervent, his fingers caressing her chin, the soft touch making him narrow his eyes. Huang Shi'er didn't dodge, meeting his gaze and nodded firmly. She said softly, Yes, I've thought it through. They all bullied me, and I have no one left to rely on. And you are in the Ascension realm. I can't defeat you. They can't defeat you either. Instead of constantly opposing you, why don't we do this? Pausing, Huang Shi'er bit her lip, her body drawing closer, somewhat shyly. I just hope you treat me well. Of course, I know you won't only have me, but I don't care. I want revenge, and you must help me. I can also help you. Help you with anything at all. By the end of her words, her face was even redder, but her tone carried a resigned acceptance. She pressed against Lin Yun, her head resting lightly on his chest, the warmth beneath his black robe making her heart skip a beat. But she didn't flinch. Instead, she whispered, Don't make me regret this. Lin Yun chuckled softly, his hand sliding down her back. He wrapped his arm around her waist, leaned down, and blew a breath into her ear. All right, I'll cherish you from now on. He didn't make any more promises. That was unnecessary and redundant. Everyone knew he was fiercely protective of his own. Huang Shi'er closed her eyes, her heart still in turmoil. But that hatred had truly faded, replaced by an indescribable emotion. And this imperial palace was still flying rapidly through the sky. It was already not far from the Divine Phoenix dynasty. But Lin Yun had another matter to attend to before that. After Lin Yun, now neatly dressed again, emerged from Huang Shi'er's presence. He headed straight for Empress ancestor Ji Xiao. Before going, he even took a bath in the bathing pool. Of course, it was a shared bath with Huang Shi'er. Huang Shi'er, after resolving her inner conflict, was very tender, which greatly pleased Lin Yun. The reason for bathing was to avoid having the scent of other women on him. He had promised Xiao before. Lin Yun was again preparing to coax Empress ancestor, to make her lower her guard against him. Chapter 36 Scare me? Then I will bully you. What are you doing here? Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun, who had suddenly appeared. She eyed him cautiously. Subconsciously, she covered her chest with one hand. Whenever Lin Yun came looking for her, Ji Xiao had almost developed a conditioned reflex. She always felt like nothing good would come of it. Lin Yun was a bit speechless at Ji Xiao's reaction. Is it really necessary? After all, we're practically the closest people, yet you guard against me as if I were a thief. Old Devil Lin deliberately tried to get closer. However, Ji Xiao wasn't falling for his tricks. If there's nothing, I don't want to see you. Ji Xiao's attitude suddenly became much colder. Lin Yun immediately felt he had come to the right place. Sure enough, she was wary after seeing his talent. I'm here to thank you. If you hadn't given me the divine ability, I wouldn't have been able to repel that old ghost so easily. Lin Yun's face was full of sincerity. He then took a few steps forward. Ji Xiao watched Lin Yun approach. She subtly took a few steps back. She knew that people who had just returned victorious were often a bit crazed. They might even do irrational things to vent their joy and relieve their tension. But what she didn't know was that Lin Yun had already vented before coming to her. Sai, you still don't trust me, but that's fine. For me, every extra day I live as a gain. I just hope that before then, you can let me finish what I need to do first. Then I'll die without regrets. Lin Yun walked directly to the side and sat down. He picked up the spirit fruit on the table and started eating it. He showed no restraint at all. Ji Xiao looked at him, somewhat confused as to why he was here now. You're not supervising the battle, yet you have time to spare. Lin Yun grinned. Those matters can be left to senior sister and the others. Come and sit, let's chat. I see you're quite bored too. Lin Yun said casually. Were you just now? Ji Xiao sniffed lightly, then suddenly asked. She smelled a floral fragrance. I was meditating and adjusting my chi just now. Then I bathed before coming here. Lest you say I smell. Lin Yun said frankly. Ji Xiao eyed Lin Yun suspiciously. What about the princess you captured? Lin Yun's heart skipped a beat. Don't let her expose me. Her? She's over there. She's a hostage, useful later, so I brought her. How far have you cultivated? Ji Xiao suddenly asked out of the blue. I've only initially mastered basic lightning techniques. I'm not very proficient with some of the divine abilities within them yet. Lin Yun rubbed his head, saying somewhat shyly. Ji Xiao stared at Lin Yun. Your talent is the strongest I've ever seen in anyone. Seeing Lin Yun unmoved, she paused, then continued. Even in the upper realm, among the divine sons and heirs of the immortal sex and noble families, none are as prodigious as you. You actually survived the 9 heavens' heavenly tribulation. Do you know what that means? Seeing that the ancestral master had finally opened up, Lin Yun also put away his playful grin. Please enlighten me, ancestral master. Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun, her expression somewhat complex. If he hadn't audaciously violated her, she would truly be reluctant to extinguish such a genius prodigy. If given the chance to grow, he might become another rising, invincible Emperor Venerable in the future. This would also be a grand event for the entire immortal realm. It could greatly alleviate the pressure on the Immortal Alliance, especially now that the demon realm was becoming increasingly rampant, constantly sending demon soldiers to the immortal realm to cause trouble. Even traces of extraterrestrial evil demons seemed to be appearing on the outer domain borders. Thinking about these things, Ji Xiao's gaze towards Lin Yun also held a hint of regret. If he truly ascended to the immortal realm and then encountered certain immortal venerables, he might even be taken as a disciple. At that time, even she wouldn't be able to openly attack him anymore. His cultivation might even quickly catch up to hers. At that time, wouldn't she have to bear humiliation for the rest of her life? He might even torment her more intensely. Seeing the ancestral master looking at him with pity, Lin Yun couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Actually, my talent is just average. I've been cultivating for thousands of years. Perhaps something went wrong this time, and the heavenly tribulation misjudged. Lin Yun forcefully explained. He felt a bit uncertain in his heart. She wouldn't really take some forbidden measures, risking everything to kill him, would she? This venerable does not stoop to lies. Your talent makes me feel threatened. Therefore, you must die. Do you understand this point? Do you have any last words? Ji Xiao's face was cold. Lin Yun almost jumped up. No way. Right now. Lin Yun swallowed, his muscles tensing up. He wanted to run away immediately. Seeing him like this, Ji Xiao felt a sense of vengeful satisfaction. So, you also have moments of fear. Then I'll scare him. That works too. A murderous intent flashed in Ji Xiao's eyes. Lin Yun's heart involuntarily began to race. He took a deep breath. Suddenly, he saw the smile at the corner of Ji Xiao's mouth. No, she's playing a trick on me. She has no magical power now, no divine thought. How could she kill him, an Ascension Realm cultivator, with one blow? She couldn't even use her space ring, and even if she had a magic treasure, she couldn't take it out. After realizing this, Lin Yun's heart settled. How dare she scare me? What audacity! Little did she know, I, Lin Yun, am even more audacious. He composed himself. Lin Yun looked up at the ancestral master. After I finish things here, you can do whatever you want with me, kill or skin me. I know I am but an ant before you, and you can take my life without effort. But right now, I'm the one in charge. Lin Yun's eyes flashed with a sharp glint as he looked at the ancestral master. How dare she scare me? Am I, Lin Yun, so easily fooled? Lin Yun directly grabbed Ji Xiao's wrist. With a gentle pull, he drew her into his arms. Ji Xiao, caught off guard, seemed not to understand what had happened. She was embraced tightly by Lin Yun. What are you doing? You beast, let me go. Aren't you afraid I'll kill you right now? Ji Xiao said, somewhat flustered. Lin Yun chuckled. I don't believe it. Why don't you try, since you dare to scare me? I'm a dead man walking. Don't you know people are the most insane before they die? Come on, self-destruct. Lin Yun had also thrown caution to the wind. He knew this was a moment of psychological warfare. He absolutely couldn't back down. He couldn't give her a chance to react. Lin Yun lowered his head and kissed her. It was all about catching her off guard. Ji Xiao whimpered and struggled. Her hands pounded against Lin Yun's chest. But it was no use. She hadn't expected this lowly ant to be so deranged. Was he truly not afraid of death? As the Jade Gate Pass was pried open by Lin Yun became somewhat greedy. Chapter 37 Dead End. Running away early. Inside the room, Ji Xiao leaned by the bed, drenched in sweat. Her hair was wet and clung to her chest. Her face was flushed. But what made Lin Yun uneasy was that she was completely calm at the moment. There were no angry shouts, no curses, no threats. Looking at the ancestral master, the Empress, at this moment, Lin Yun felt a bit unsettled. He knew that this time, he had truly crossed certain thresholds. In other words, he had successfully courted death. He was doomed. Beyond saving, that kind of doomed. Lin Yun gave a bitter smile in his heart. Damn, having too much energy isn't always good. Every day, was he under too much pressure? Looking at the unusually quiet Ji Xiao, Lin Yun didn't dare to provoke her anymore. He was afraid of accidentally lighting a powder keg. At that point, the entire Tianyuan realm might explode. She was an immortal king, wasn't she? He wondered if she would have that much power if she exploded. I'm leaving now. Lin Yun shrugged, feeling a little guilty. After walking a few steps, Lin Yun looked back. Then he turned around and came back. He used a nearby blanket to cover her exquisite and graceful body. From beginning to end, Ji Xiao didn't say a single word, not even a syllable. She didn't even look at Lin Yun. If it weren't for her breathing, Lin Yun would have suspected she was a living corpse. Didn't she scream a lot just now? Why was she silent now? Lin Yun only dared to think such words in his heart. He would never dare to say them out loud. He gave her a deep look, as if to engrave her appearance in his mind. Lin Yun knew that this look might be a final farewell. He had to run away beforehand. The preparations and arrangements he had made earlier now seemed unreliable. The moment the seal on the god-slaying dagger was lifted, she would probably immediately take out an immortal artifact and kill him. On one hand, his astonishing talent had frightened her. On the other hand, he had just broken his promise and even bullied her. He feared she would no longer trust him. Well, at least in the current situation, absolutely not. Once the matters of the Divine Phoenix dynasty were concluded, he should still make his escape in advance. Lin Yun had already thought of a way to escape. Within the Divine Phoenix dynasty, there seemed to be an ancient teleportation array from ancient times. It could connect to several surrounding worlds. It was said to be so. Lin Yun wasn't very clear about the specific situation. This was something Huang Lian Yu told Lin Yun when they were dating. He figured she wouldn't lie. At that time, their relationship was still good. This was also why Lin Yun insisted on holding onto the Divine Phoenix dynasty. The reason he hastily brought his army to the city gates. He was afraid of any unforeseen changes, so he would have time to think of other solutions. In any case, he absolutely could not wait until the day the ancestral master, the Empress, was unsealed. Anyway, I'm going to die by your hand sooner or later, so don't be angry anymore. I'm leaving. After Lin Yun finished speaking, he no longer lingered. Lin Yun had been gone for a while. Only then did Ji Xiao stir slightly. She slowly leaned against the headboard, her eyes closed. What Lin Yun didn't know was, he had truly walked on the edge of death. Ji Xiao had almost detonated her immortal vein just now. If Lin Yun hadn't suddenly changed positions at that moment, interrupting her thoughts, Lin Yun would have been reduced to ashes on the spot. One could only say he was lucky. Lin Yun didn't greet anyone. He directly left the floating island palace. He chased after the aura he sensed alone. Lin Yun was going to find Huang Lingtian. If he didn't deal with him, Lin Yun wouldn't feel at ease leaving. After all, his master, senior sister, and junior sister would probably be in the lower realm for a very long time. Originally, Lin Yun hadn't thought so much. But since his talent had even frightened the ancestral master, the Empress, he figured he would have a chance to go to the lower realm in the future. At that time, he could help them ascend together and continue their shamelessness with him. So Lin Yun had to deal with Huang Lingtian first. Then his departure would also be silent, not letting anyone know. He would hide it for as long as possible. The ancestral master, the Empress, wouldn't take her anger out on her former sect. So Lin Yun wasn't worried about that. And no matter what, she was still an upper immortal. She wouldn't be so petty. Lin Yun's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he flew hundreds of thousands of miles, especially after comprehending the lightning Tao. Lin Yun's speed reached its limit. Like a flash of lightning, above a giant island in the endless sea, Xin Tiangang, Lei Jinxiao, and their group of 5 were suspended in midair. Is that old monster really here? Xian Tian Gang asked with some suspicion. Yes, I have a secret divine ability for tracking thousands of miles. Old Taoist Wuchen said confidently. Speaking of which, with the 5 of us working together, dealing with old monster Ling Tian, who has cut off his cultivation, shouldn't be a problem, right? Lei Xiao asked cautiously. Of course there won't be a problem. If he had the confidence, he wouldn't have fled directly. He doesn't even dare to return to the Divine Phoenix dynasty. Don't you understand? Jian Wuji saw this very clearly. That's right. Then let's go up and search separately. After sensing anything abnormal, don't act rashly. Contact us first. We'll act together. Don't think about hogging all the spoils, or you might lose your life. It should be so. Immediately, the 5 split up. Although this was an island, it was actually equivalent to a very large landmass. In the endless sea, such islands were countless. There were also nations and many cultivators on them. They formed their own factions, except for trade and commerce. They basically had no contact with the immortal sects and schools of the mainland. The entry of the 5 was like a few drops of water falling into the sea, causing no ripples. And not long after they left, a flash of lightning streaked by. Lin Yun's figure suddenly appeared. His eyes were slightly closed. Lin Yun was sensing something. Are those few also here? They have some guts, daring to hunt old monster Ling Tian. But it makes things easier for me. I'll deal with them all at once then. Lin Yun already had a plan in mind. He wasn't like them, running around like headless flies. He had already sensed Huang Ling Tian's specific location. He would deal with him first. Then he would just wait for the others to come to him. Lin Yun looked down at the island below. It was quite large. He figured it was also a famous immortal island overseas. As a burial ground, it wouldn't be an insult to them. Lin Yun's figure vanished in an instant, leaving a patrol team who were about to come and question him, looking as if they had seen a ghost. That person's realm just now was at least that of a senior in the divine ability realm, right? Maybe even a celestial phenomenon big shot. It's a good thing we were slow just now. Otherwise, if we had bumped into that senior, we wouldn't even know how we died. Yes, I heard that the mainland hasn't been peaceful recently, and a large-scale war has broken out. The 9 great immortal sects besieged the Yin and Yang demonic sect, and countless disciples were counter-killed. Is that demon venerable old devil Lin really that powerful? A young man asked, somewhat incredulous. Isn't he? He should be invincible now, right? I heard from relatives over there that he even took in the Empress's adopted daughter. TSK, TSK, TSK. What a blessing for a man. The young man, who looked like a squad leader, was full of longing, completely unaware that the invincible protagonist they were talking about had just brushed past them.